3 seconds. That is all it takes for your mind to change your entire life. Not 3 years, not 10 motivational seminars, not another 100 self-help videos saved into a playlist you never watch again. Just one moment where you become honest with yourself. Because deep down, you already know something is wrong. You feel it at night when the room becomes silent. You feel it when you open your phone without even thinking. You feel it when you keep scrolling even after your mind is exhausted. You feel it when you say, "I'll start tomorrow," for the 100th time. And maybe nobody around you notices it. Maybe you still smile in public. Maybe you still go to work. Maybe you still post pictures. Maybe people think you are doing fine. But inside, something feels disconnected. Your energy feels different. Your focus is weak. Your confidence disappears too quickly. Your emotions feel heavier than before. And the worst part is, you do not even know exactly when it started. That is the dangerous thing about modern life. People do not collapse instantly anymore. They slowly disappear, one distraction at a time, one comparison at a time, one sleepless night at a time, one ignored emotion at a time, until one day they wake up and realize they no longer recognize themselves. Listen carefully. You are not broken. You are overloaded. Your mind was never designed for this much noise. Every day your brain absorbs thousands of pieces of information, notifications, messages, videos, arguments, fear, comparison, pressure, and somewhere in the middle of all the chaos, you lost connection with your own thoughts. That is why your mind feels tired even when your body rests. That is why peace feels unfamiliar. That is why silence feels uncomfortable. Because the modern world trained your brain to become addicted to stimulation. And maybe nobody told you this before, but attention is your life. Whatever controls your attention eventually controls your emotions, your decisions, your habits, your confidence, and eventually, your future. Right now millions of people wake up every morning and immediately hand their minds over to the internet. Before they even speak to themselves, they consume other people's opinions. Before they even breathe deeply, they start comparing their lives. And then they wonder why they feel anxious all the time. This world is not fighting for your money anymore. It is fighting for your focus. Because focus is power. A distracted person becomes emotionally weak. A distracted person loses discipline. A distracted person slowly forgets who they are. That is why this audiobook exists. Not to motivate you temporarily. Not to make you feel excited for one night and empty again tomorrow. But to help you rebuild yourself from the inside out. Slowly, honestly, powerfully. This is not about becoming perfect. This is about becoming clear again. Clear in your mind. Clear in your habits. Clear in your emotions. Clear in your purpose. Because once clarity returns, everything changes. Your decisions improve. Your confidence improves. Your discipline improves. Your relationships improve. Your entire life begins changing quietly. And here is something most people never understand. Real transformation is rarely loud. It does not always happen in dramatic moments. Sometimes transformation begins in silence. A person sits alone one night and finally admits, "I cannot keep living like this." That sentence changes everything. Maybe that moment is happening for you right now. Maybe this is the first time in months, or years, that you truly stopped and listened to yourself. If that is true, then I need you to hear this carefully. Your current life is not your final identity. Your confusion is not permanent. Your exhaustion is not permanent. Your anxiety is not permanent. Even if it feels heavy right now, you can rebuild your mind. Human beings are more adaptable than they realize. The brain changes constantly. Habits change constantly. Identity changes constantly. Which means your future can change too. But first, you must stop running from yourself. That is where real growth begins. Not in motivation, in honesty. Most people spend their entire lives distracting themselves from uncomfortable emotions. The moment boredom appears, they grab their phone. The moment loneliness appears, they search for noise. The moment anxiety appears, they escape into entertainment. But distraction only delays healing. It never creates it. Sooner or later, every human being must face themselves. their habits, their fears, their excuses, their emotional wounds. And the people who become strongest in life are not the people who avoid those moments. They are the people who learn how to sit inside those moments without collapsing. That is emotional strength, not pretending to be fearless, but learning how to remain calm while rebuilding yourself. The truth is, many people are emotionally exhausted because they have been performing for too long. Performing happiness, performing confidence, performing success. Meanwhile, internally they feel disconnected. This generation has mastered appearance, but many people have forgotten inner peace. That is why people now consume motivation constantly but still feel empty. Because information alone does not transform people. Application does. And over the next chapters, that is exactly what we are going to do together. We are going to rebuild your focus, rebuild your discipline, rebuild your emotional strength, rebuild your confidence, rebuild your relationship with yourself. Not through fake positivity, not through unrealistic perfection, but through awareness. Because awareness changes everything. Once you become aware of your patterns, you stop becoming controlled by them. You begin noticing how often distraction steals your energy. You begin noticing how much comparison damages your confidence. You begin noticing how overstimulation weakens your focus. And slowly, your mind begins waking up again. That is the beginning of transformation. A waking up, not into a different person, but into the strongest version of yourself that has been buried underneath noise for years. And if you are listening to this right now, I believe something important. I believe your mind is tired of surviving. I believe part of you wants peace. Not temporary pleasure, not endless distraction. Real peace, the kind of peace that comes from self-respect, the kind of peace that comes from discipline, the kind of peace that comes from knowing you are finally becoming the person you were meant to become. And that journey starts now, right here, with this moment. So before we continue, take one deep breath, slow down for a second, and ask yourself honestly, what would happen if I finally stopped distracting myself and started rebuilding my life? Because that answer might change everything. And if you are ready for that transformation, make sure you follow Splendor YT and stay with me until the end of this journey. This is not just another audiobook. This is the beginning of your rebuild. Most people think their life changes because of one big decision, a massive opportunity, a life-changing event, a dramatic breakthrough. But that is not how most lives are destroyed. And it is not how most lives are rebuilt either. Life usually changes quietly, very quietly. A person wakes up one morning and decides to check their phone for 5 minutes. 5 minutes becomes 50. 50 becomes a habit, and suddenly years disappear inside distraction. That is how modern life steals people. Not violently, silently, one unconscious habit at a time. There are people listening to this right now who have not spent a full hour alone with their own thoughts in years. Think about that. The moment silence appears, the hand reaches for the phone automatically. Not because the person is weak, because the brain has been trained, conditioned, rewired. Modern technology did not just change human behavior. It changed human attention, and attention shapes identity. This is why two people can live in the same city, use the same phone, and exist in completely different emotional realities. One person uses technology intentionally. The other becomes emotionally controlled by it. One person consumes information carefully. The other absorbs endless negativity every day. One person protects their mind. The other leaves the door open to everything. And over time, their lives move in different directions. Because what repeatedly enters the mind eventually shapes the personality. If a person consumes comparison every day, insecurity grows. If a person consumes outrage every day, anger grows. If a person consumes distraction every day, discipline weakens. People rarely notice this happening in real time. That is what makes it dangerous. The human mind adapts quietly. A person who once loved reading suddenly cannot focus for 5 minutes. A person who once enjoyed silence now feels uncomfortable without stimulation. A person who once had dreams now feels emotionally numb. And eventually they begin asking themselves a painful question. What happened to me? The answer is usually not one dramatic event. It is gradual disconnection. Disconnection from focus. Disconnection from emotional presence. Disconnection from meaning. And most importantly, disconnection from themselves. There is a reason so many people feel mentally exhausted today even when they are physically safe. The nervous system cannot differentiate perfectly between physical danger and emotional overload. Constant notifications, constant bad news, constant comparison, constant urgency, all of it keeps the brain psychologically alert. That means many people are living in survival mode without realizing it. Their body rests, but their mind never truly relaxes. That is why people feel tired after doing nothing. Because mental overload is still exhaustion. The modern world normalized overstimulation so deeply that many people no longer recognize what calm feels like. And when calm disappears long enough, chaos begins feeling normal. Read that again internally. When chaos becomes normal, peace feels unfamiliar. That is why some people sabotage quiet moments. The moment life slows down, anxiety appears. Because silence exposes emotional reality. A distracted mind can hide pain temporarily. A still mind cannot. This is why rebuilding yourself requires courage. Real courage, not the loud kind people post online. Quiet courage. The courage to sit alone without escaping yourself. The courage to face your habits honestly. The courage to admit that your current lifestyle may be damaging your mind. That level of honesty changes lives. Because once awareness begins, transformation becomes possible. The problem is that many people want change without awareness. They want confidence without self-reflection, discipline without discomfort, peace without slowing down. But healing rarely works like that. Everything meaningful requires attention. A healthy relationship requires attention. A strong body requires attention. A focused mind requires attention. And yet modern culture trains people to destroy their own attention every day. This creates inner conflict. People desperately want better lives while feeding their minds chaos constantly. That is like planting seeds into poisoned soil and expecting beautiful growth. Your inner environment matters. The thoughts you repeat matter. The content you consume matters. The people around you matter. The energy you wake up around matters. Everything shapes the nervous system. And once you understand this, you stop treating your mind carelessly. You begin protecting your peace differently. You become more intentional about what enters your life. Because you finally realize something important. Not everything deserves access to your mind. Not every opinion matters. Not every trend matters. Not every notification deserves your energy. This realization is powerful because emotional exhaustion often comes from giving attention to too many meaningless things. The modern world encourages overconsumption. More information, more entertainment, more noise, more comparison. But peace usually arrives through subtraction. Less chaos, less distraction, less emotional clutter. Many people are searching for motivation when what they actually need is clarity. And clarity comes from removing noise. That is why some of the most powerful moments in life happen during simplicity. A quiet walk, a deep conversation, a peaceful morning, a moment of reflection. These experiences calm the nervous system because they reconnect human beings to presence. Presence is healing. When your mind fully arrives in one moment, anxiety weakens. Because anxiety often lives in imagined futures. Regret lives in the past. But peace lives in presence. This is why rebuilding your attention changes your emotional life. A focused mind becomes stronger emotionally. A distracted mind becomes emotionally reactive. That is exactly what social media algorithms exploit. Emotional reaction. Outrage spreads faster than wisdom. Comparison spreads faster than gratitude. Fear spreads faster than calm. And if a person consumes emotional chaos daily, eventually that chaos becomes internalized. This is why protecting your attention is not selfish. It is survival, especially in the modern world. Right now there are people who spend more time learning about strangers online than understanding themselves. They know celebrity gossip, they know trends, they know internet drama, but they do not know their own emotional patterns. That disconnect creates emptiness. Because human beings are not fulfilled through endless consumption. Human beings are fulfilled through meaning. Meaningful work, meaningful relationships, meaningful growth, meaningful presence. That is what the distracted world is stealing from people. Depth. Everything is becoming faster, shorter, louder, but depth requires slowness, and the deepest transformations in life usually happen slowly. A person slowly rebuilds discipline, slowly rebuilds confidence, slowly rebuilds emotional stability. There is beauty in that process. Because lasting change is built, not rushed. Many people destroy themselves chasing instant transformation. They expect one video, one quote, one motivational speech to fix years of emotional neglect. But real rebuilding is not instant. It is daily, quietly daily, one better decision at a time, one healthier habit at a time, one honest moment at a time. That is how identities change. Not through intensity, through consistency. And this is important because modern culture worships intensity. Extreme success, extreme hustle, extreme productivity, but sustainable growth usually looks calmer than people expect. A disciplined person is not always loud. Often they are peaceful, focused, intentional, stable. They learned how to protect their energy instead of wasting it constantly. That is real self-improvement. Not becoming obsessed with perfection, but becoming conscious of your life again. Conscious of your habits, conscious of your emotions, conscious of your attention, because unconscious living is dangerous. People drift through years automatically and suddenly wonder why they feel empty. But emptiness rarely appears suddenly. It accumulates slowly through disconnection. This is why you must begin observing your own life honestly. Observe what drains your energy. Observe what weakens your focus. Observe what repeatedly damages your peace. Awareness changes behavior. Once you truly see your patterns clearly, you stop making excuses for them. And that is where rebuilding begins. Not in motivation, in responsibility. Personal responsibility is powerful because it returns control back to you. Yes, the modern world is distracting. Yes, technology affects attention. Yes, algorithms manipulate emotion. But eventually every person must decide, will I continue living unconsciously, or will I take my mind back? That decision changes everything, because once a person reclaims ownership of their attention, they begin reclaiming ownership of their future. And if you are still listening right now, understand something important. The fact that you are here means part of you is already waking up. Part of you is already tired of mental chaos. Part of you already wants more from life. More peace, more focus, more clarity, more meaning. Hold on to that feeling, because the next step of rebuilding yourself is not only understanding distraction. It is understanding the emotional emptiness hiding underneath it. And that is exactly where we are going next. If this message is speaking directly to your mind, follow Splendor YT and continue this journey with me. Your rebuild has already begun. There is a strange loneliness spreading across the modern world. And the strange part is this. People have never been more connected. Thousands of followers, hundreds of messages, constant notifications, endless conversations online. Yet millions of people still feel emotionally alone. Not physically alone, emotionally alone. There are people surrounded by friends who still feel misunderstood. There are people in relationships who still feel disconnected. There are people laughing publicly while privately fighting silent emotional battles nobody knows about. And maybe you understand that feeling more than you admit. Maybe you know what it feels like to sit in a crowded room and still feel mentally distant from everyone around you. Maybe you know what it feels like to smile while carrying invisible exhaustion. This generation became experts at communication. But many people forgot how to connect. Real connection requires presence. And presence has become rare. Most conversations today are interrupted constantly. Phones vibrate during meals. Notifications interrupt emotions. People listen while simultaneously scrolling. Nobody is fully anywhere anymore. And slowly relationships become shallow. Not because human beings stopped caring. Because attention disappeared. Think about how powerful genuine attention feels today. A real conversation, eye contact, someone fully listening to you without checking their phone. It feels rare now. That is why loneliness is growing everywhere. Human beings were designed for emotional connection, not endless digital stimulation. Connection is not just talking. Connection is feeling understood, feeling seen, feeling emotionally safe enough to be honest. But modern culture encourages performance more than honesty. People carefully edit their lives online. They post happiness more than truth, strength more than vulnerability, success more than struggle. And when everyone only shows perfect moments, people begin believing they are the only ones suffering internally. That illusion creates isolation. A person starts thinking, everyone else seems happy. Everyone else seems confident. Everyone else seems ahead. Meanwhile, millions of people are secretly thinking the exact same thing. Comparison is one of the fastest ways to destroy inner peace. Because comparison makes people abandon their own journey emotionally. Instead of asking, what kind of life feels meaningful to me? People start asking, how do I look compared to everyone else? That question creates anxiety, because there will always be someone richer, smarter, more attractive, more successful, more popular. If your self-worth depends entirely on comparison, peace becomes impossible. This is one of the greatest emotional traps created by modern technology. People no longer compare themselves only to neighbors or classmates. Now they compare themselves to millions of carefully edited lives every day. The nervous system was never designed for that level of psychological comparison. That is why so many people secretly feel inadequate now, even when they are doing fine. The internet trained people to believe they are always behind, not successful enough, not attractive enough, not productive enough, not important enough. And eventually people become emotionally exhausted trying to prove their worth constantly. But here is the truth nobody says enough. Your worth does not increase because strangers approve of you online. And your worth does not disappear because somebody else is succeeding faster. Human value cannot be measured through algorithms. Real confidence is quieter than social media makes it seem. Real confidence is not constant self-promotion. It is self-trust. It is waking up and respecting yourself internally. It is knowing who you are even when nobody applauds you. That kind of confidence changes everything. Because people who trust themselves emotionally stop chasing validation desperately. And desperation destroys peace. Many people are not actually searching for attention. They are searching for significance. They want to feel important, loved, seen, valued. That desire is human, but modern culture often pushes people toward unhealthy forms of validation. Likes become emotional currency, views become self-worth, attention becomes identity, and when attention disappears temporarily, people begin questioning themselves emotionally. This creates emotional instability, because external validation is unpredictable. One day people praise you, another day they ignore you. If your emotional state depends entirely on outside approval, your inner world becomes unstable constantly. That is why rebuilding yourself requires learning how to validate yourself internally. Not arrogantly, not selfishly, but healthily. You must learn how to respect yourself even during quiet seasons of life. Even when growth feels slow. Even when nobody notices your progress. Because the strongest transformations often happen invisibly at first. A person rebuilds discipline quietly, rebuilds confidence quietly, rebuilds emotional stability quietly, and eventually the external world reflects the internal changes. But modern culture makes patience difficult. Everything feels urgent, instant success, instant results, instant attention. Meanwhile, real growth usually moves slowly. Like roots growing underground before a tree becomes visible. This is why emotionally mature people stop obsessing over external timelines. They understand something important. Life is not a race. It is a process of becoming. And becoming takes time, especially after emotional exhaustion. Healing is not instant. Rebuilding trust in yourself is not instant. Recovering focus is not instant. Learning emotional discipline is not instant. But slow progress is still progress. Never forget that. Many people quit rebuilding themselves because they expect immediate transformation. But identity changes through repetition. Daily repetition. A person becomes stronger emotionally by repeatedly choosing awareness over reaction. discipline over impulse, presence over distraction, growth over comfort. That process slowly reshapes the nervous system, and eventually the person who once felt lost begins feeling clear again. This is why your environment matters deeply. The people around you influence your emotional state more than you realize. Negativity spreads emotionally, fear spreads emotionally, chaos spreads emotionally, but peace spreads too, focus spreads too, discipline spreads too. That is why protecting your environment is an act of self-respect. Not everyone deserves unlimited access to your energy. Some people constantly drain emotional peace. Some environments normalize distraction. Some relationships survive only through chaos. And part of rebuilding yourself means becoming honest about what your spirit can no longer tolerate. Growth changes emotional standards. A person rebuilding themselves cannot continue feeding their mind constant negativity and expect peace. Eventually, boundaries become necessary, not because you hate people, because you finally respect your mind enough to protect it. This is difficult for many people, especially people who spent years people-pleasing. People pleasers often believe protecting their peace is selfish, so they overextend themselves emotionally. They say yes when they want to say no. They tolerate disrespect to avoid conflict. They carry emotional burdens that were never theirs. And slowly resentment grows internally. This is why boundaries matter. Boundaries are not emotional walls. Healthy boundaries are emotional clarity. They teach people how to treat you. More importantly, they teach you how to treat yourself. Every time you betray your own peace to satisfy everyone else, self-respect weakens slightly. And self-respect is extremely important. Because without self-respect, discipline becomes difficult, confidence becomes unstable, and emotional exhaustion grows. A rebuilding season often requires difficult decisions. Sometimes growth means spending more time alone temporarily. Not lonely, intentional. There is a difference. Loneliness is feeling disconnected from yourself. Solitude is reconnecting with yourself. And many people need solitude more than they realize. Because clarity grows in quiet environments. Constant noise prevents self-understanding. This is why some of the strongest people you will ever meet learned how to become comfortable alone. Not because they hate people, because they discovered something powerful. Your relationship with yourself shapes every other relationship in your life. If you cannot sit peacefully with yourself, external success will never fully satisfy you. That is why rebuilding yourself internally matters more than performing success externally. People can fake confidence online, but they cannot fake inner peace privately. And deep down, everyone knows the difference. There are wealthy people who feel empty, famous people who feel lonely, successful people who secretly hate themselves. Because achievement alone cannot heal emotional disconnection. Only inner work can do that. And inner work requires honesty. Radical honesty. The kind where you stop blaming everything outside yourself and finally ask, what patterns inside me need to change? That question transforms lives. Because the moment responsibility begins, power returns. Victim thinking creates emotional paralysis. Personal responsibility creates growth. Not because life is always fair. It is not. Everyone carries pain. Everyone carries disappointment. Everyone carries emotional scars. But healing begins when a person decides, my pain will not control my future forever. That decision is powerful. And if you are listening right now, maybe this is your moment to make that decision too. Maybe this is the moment you stop settling for emotional survival. Maybe this is the moment you stop abandoning yourself internally. Maybe this is the moment you finally begin rebuilding your confidence instead of destroying it with comparison every day. Because your future self is built through the decisions you repeat now. Not someday, now. And one of the most important decisions you will ever make is this. Will you continue living for external validation, or will you finally begin building a life that genuinely feels meaningful to you? That answer changes everything. If this message is helping you reconnect with yourself, stay with Splendor YT and continue this journey with me. We are not just changing habits here. We are rebuilding identity. There is something dangerous about emotional pain that nobody talks about enough. If pain stays inside the mind long enough, it starts becoming identity. A person experiences failure and slowly begins saying, "I am a failure." A person experiences rejection and begins believing, "I am unlovable." A person struggles with discipline and starts thinking, "I am weak." That is how emotional suffering becomes psychological programming. And most people never notice when it happens. Because identity changes quietly, not in one dramatic moment, but through repeated thoughts. The human brain listens to repetition. Whatever you repeat internally long enough eventually feels true, even if it is destroying you. This is why the voice inside your head matters so much. Because whether you realize it or not, you are in conversation with yourself every single day. And for many people, that conversation is brutal. Constant self-criticism, constant doubt, constant pressure, constant comparison. People speak to themselves in ways they would never speak to someone they love. And then they wonder why they feel emotionally exhausted all the time. Imagine carrying a person beside you every day who constantly says, "You are behind. You are not good enough. You always fail. Look at everyone else succeeding. You will never change." Eventually that voice would destroy your confidence completely. But many people already carry that voice internally. This is why rebuilding yourself is not only about changing habits. It is about changing internal language. Because words shape emotional reality. A person repeatedly telling themselves, "I am lazy," will behave differently than someone telling themselves, "I am rebuilding discipline." One identity creates shame. The other creates possibility. This matters deeply because the brain responds to identity more strongly than motivation. Motivation changes daily. Identity shapes behavior consistently. If a person believes, "I am broken," they subconsciously act according to that belief. But if a person begins believing, "I am healing," their choices slowly change too. This is why self-awareness is powerful. Once you begin observing your internal dialogue honestly, you start realizing how often your mind works against you. Many people are physically present in life while mentally attacking themselves constantly. That internal conflict drains enormous emotional energy. And here is the dangerous part. The mind believes what it hears repeatedly. Not instantly, gradually. That means every repeated thought becomes training. Every sentence becomes conditioning. Every emotional reaction becomes reinforcement. Which means if a person spends years repeating negative beliefs internally, those beliefs begin feeling permanent. But they are not permanent. Human beings can reprogram themselves. The brain changes continuously through repetition and emotion. That is how habits form. That is how confidence forms. That is also how insecurity forms. This is why your environment matters so much. Because your environment influences your thoughts. If a person grows up constantly criticized, they often internalize shame. If a person grows up constantly compared to others, they often internalize inadequacy. If a person repeatedly experiences emotional rejection, they may begin fearing vulnerability completely. These emotional patterns do not disappear automatically with age. Many adults still carry emotional programming from years earlier. And without awareness, those patterns continue controlling behavior unconsciously. This is why some people sabotage healthy relationships, why some people fear success, why some people procrastinate constantly, why some people destroy opportunities they prayed for. Because identity always tries to remain familiar, even when familiar patterns create suffering. The human brain prefers familiar pain over unfamiliar growth. That is why transformation feels uncomfortable at first. A person rebuilding themselves often experiences internal resistance. Part of the mind says, "Change." Another part says, "Stay where it feels safe." That inner conflict is normal. Do not hate yourself for it. Growth always challenges old identity. The important thing is continuing anyway. Because every healthy decision weakens old programming slightly. Every disciplined action sends a new message to the brain. Every promise you keep to yourself rebuilds trust internally. And trust matters. Many people do not lack intelligence. They lack self-trust. They no longer believe their own words. They say, "I will start tomorrow." Then break the promise. "I will stay consistent." Then quit again. "I will change." Then return to the same habits. Eventually the mind stops believing them. This destroys confidence quietly, because confidence is not built through motivational speeches. Confidence is built through evidence. Evidence that you can trust yourself. That is why discipline is deeply connected to self-respect. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, identity strengthens. Even small promises matter. Waking up when you said you would. Finishing what you started. Turning off distractions when necessary. Speaking honestly. Protecting your peace. These actions appear small externally. Internally they rebuild character, and character creates emotional stability. Many people search endlessly for confidence without realizing confidence grows through action. Not fantasy, not endless thinking, action. The brain trusts evidence more than intention. That means your life changes the moment your actions begin matching the person you want to become. Not perfectly, consistently. There is another reason people remain emotionally stuck. They confuse guilt with growth. Feeling bad about yourself is not self-improvement. Hating yourself does not create discipline. Shame may create temporary motivation, but long-term shame destroys identity. This is important because many people were taught that self-criticism creates success. So they pressure themselves constantly, insult themselves internally, compare themselves constantly, and eventually burnout appears. Because emotional abuse from yourself is still emotional abuse. Healing requires a different approach. Firmness without self-hatred, discipline without emotional destruction, accountability without shame. This balance changes everything, because sustainable growth requires emotional stability. A person constantly attacking themselves internally eventually becomes exhausted psychologically. That is why self-compassion matters. Not weak self-compassion, not excuses. Honest self-compassion, the kind where you acknowledge your mistakes without turning them into identity. There is a massive difference between saying, "I failed today," and saying, "I am a failure." One describes behavior, the other attacks identity. Never confuse the two. Behavior can change. Identity can evolve. No human being is permanently trapped unless they stop believing change is possible. And many people stop believing because they spent years reinforcing negative stories internally. Stories matter. The human mind understands life through narrative. People silently tell themselves stories every day. I always mess things up. Nothing ever works for me. I am too late. I am not talented enough. Those stories become emotional prisons. But stories can also become freedom. Imagine how life changes when the internal story becomes, I am learning. I am healing. I am rebuilding. I am becoming stronger. Those sentences create movement. That is why language matters so much. Your mind is always listening, always adapting, always learning from repetition, which means rebuilding yourself requires becoming intentional about what you repeatedly feed your brain. Not fake positivity, truthful empowerment. There is a difference. You do not need to lie to yourself. You simply need to stop speaking to yourself like an enemy. The strongest people are not people who never struggle emotionally. They are people who learned how to support themselves during struggle instead of destroying themselves internally. That skill changes lives, because difficult seasons are unavoidable. Failure is unavoidable. Pain is unavoidable, but self-destruction is not unavoidable. You can learn emotional resilience. You can learn healthier thinking patterns. You can rebuild trust with yourself. And slowly your internal world begins changing. That is where peace starts. Not externally, internally. Many people are waiting for life to become peaceful before calming their minds. But peace begins inside first. Then external decisions improve. Relationships improve. Habits improve. Everything improves from the inside outward. This is why protecting your internal dialogue matters so deeply. Because eventually your internal voice becomes your reality. If the voice constantly destroys you, life becomes heavier. If the voice guides you wisely, life becomes clearer. That does not mean you never correct yourself. Growth requires honesty, but honesty and cruelty are not the same thing. You can hold yourself accountable while still respecting yourself. And that balance is powerful, especially in a world that constantly profits from insecurity. The modern world benefits when people feel inadequate. Insecure people consume more, compare more, seek more validation, but emotionally strong people become harder to manipulate. That is why rebuilding your identity matters. Not for ego, for freedom. Freedom from constant comparison. Freedom from emotional dependence on approval. Freedom from destructive patterns. Freedom from the version of yourself that no longer serves your future. And if you are listening right now, remember this carefully. The way you speak to yourself today is shaping the person you become tomorrow. Choose those words wisely. And if this journey is helping you rebuild your mindset, continue with Splendor YT and stay with me until the end. Your future identity is already being built, one thought at a time. One of the biggest lies people believe is this. They think discipline is punishment. They think disciplined people wake up every morning feeling motivated, powerful, unstoppable, and excited to work hard. But that is not reality. Real discipline is much quieter than social media makes it look. Real discipline is often boring, repetitive, uncomfortable, and invisible. The strongest people are not always the loudest people. Often they are simply the most consistent. They learn something most people never understand. Feelings change constantly, but standards can remain stable. That realization changes everything, because most people build their lives around emotion. If I feel motivated, I'll work. If I feel confident, I'll start. If I feel ready, I'll change. But emotions are unpredictable. Some days you feel strong. Other days your mind feels heavy for no clear reason. If your entire life depends on emotion, consistency becomes impossible. This is why discipline matters. Discipline allows a person to continue moving even when motivation disappears temporarily. And motivation always disappears temporarily. That is normal. No human being feels inspired every single day. The difference is that disciplined people do not make permanent decisions based on temporary emotions. They understand something powerful. Your future is built by repeated actions, not emotional moods. That means every small decision matters more than people realize. Waking up when you promised yourself you would. Working even when you feel distracted. Protecting your focus. Saying no to unhealthy habits. These moments shape identity. The problem is that many people try to build discipline through self-hatred. They insult themselves constantly, pressure themselves constantly, compare themselves constantly, and eventually they burn out emotionally. Because shame is not sustainable fuel. Fear creates temporary action. Self-respect creates lasting action. That is why healthy discipline begins with identity, not punishment. A person who respects themselves naturally protects their future differently. They sleep differently, think differently, spend time differently, because they understand something important. Every action is either building their future, or weakening it. Modern culture makes discipline difficult because distraction is everywhere. People are constantly pulled toward instant gratification, fast entertainment, fast dopamine, fast validation, and slowly the brain becomes conditioned to avoid anything requiring patience. This is why simple things now feel difficult for many people. Reading feels hard, deep focus feels hard, long-term consistency feels hard, not because human beings became weak, because the brain adapted to overstimulation, and overstimulation damages patience. That matters because almost everything meaningful in life requires patience. Strong relationships require patience. Healing requires patience. Building confidence requires patience. Mastering skills requires patience. But modern culture trains people to expect instant emotional rewards. That creates frustration. A person starts improving for 3 days and immediately expects life-changing transformation. When it does not happen instantly, they quit. Not because change is impossible, because their expectations were unrealistic. This is why emotional maturity matters. Emotionally mature people understand that progress is often invisible at first. A seed underground looks inactive before growth appears. The same thing happens internally. A person rebuilding themselves may not see immediate results. But changes are happening. The mind is adapting. Habits are shifting. Identity is evolving. That process requires consistency. And consistency is difficult in the beginning because the old version of you still exists mentally. The old habits still exist. The old emotional patterns still exist. That is why rebuilding yourself feels uncomfortable. You are training your mind to operate differently. At first the brain resists change, because familiar patterns feel safe, even unhealthy patterns. This is why people return to habits they know are damaging, not because they enjoy suffering, because familiarity feels emotionally comfortable. But growth requires stepping beyond familiar comfort. That is what discipline really is. Training yourself to choose long-term peace over short-term relief. That sentence alone can change a life. Because most self-destructive habits offer immediate emotional relief. Scrolling distracts anxiety temporarily. Junk food comforts emotions temporarily. Avoidance protects discomfort temporarily. But temporary relief often creates long-term suffering. Discipline reverses that pattern. Discipline accepts temporary discomfort to create long-term freedom. That is why disciplined people often appear calmer emotionally. Their lives are less chaotic internally. They learned how to tolerate discomfort without immediately escaping it. And that skill is rare today. Most people react instantly to every emotion. Sadness appears, escape. Boredom appears, escape. Stress appears, escape. But emotional strength grows when a person learns how to remain present during discomfort without collapsing. That does not mean suppressing emotions. It means controlling reactions. There is a difference. A disciplined person still feels emotions deeply. They simply do not allow every emotion to control their decisions. That balance creates stability, and stability creates power. Imagine how different life becomes when your emotions stop controlling your habits completely. When one bad day no longer destroys your progress. When temporary feelings no longer define your identity. That is emotional discipline, and emotional discipline changes every area of life. Career, relationships, health, confidence, peace. Everything improves when reactions become intentional instead of impulsive. This is why rebuilding yourself requires structure, not extreme structure, sustainable structure. Healthy routines protect the mind. A consistent sleep schedule matters. Focused work periods matter. Quiet reflection matters. Exercise matters. Not because these habits make you perfect, because they stabilize your nervous system. A stable nervous system creates clearer thinking, and clear thinking creates better decisions. Many people underestimate how deeply physical habits affect emotional health. Lack of sleep weakens emotional control. Constant junk food weakens energy. Endless scrolling weakens focus. Everything connects. Mind and body are not separate systems. That is why rebuilding yourself requires caring for both. A healthy body supports a healthy mind, and a healthy mind supports disciplined behavior. This is also why environment matters so much. People often expect themselves to stay disciplined while surrounded by constant distraction. That is difficult. Environment shapes behavior more than motivation does. If distractions are always nearby, the brain naturally reacts to them. That does not make you weak. It makes you human. This is why intentional people design environments supporting focus. They remove unnecessary temptation, protect quiet time, reduce noise, not because they have superhuman discipline, because they understand human psychology. The strongest systems reduce friction for good habits and increase friction for destructive ones. Small changes matter. Keeping the phone away during work, sleeping earlier, turning off notifications, planning tomorrow the night before. These actions appear simple externally. Internally they create momentum, and momentum matters deeply, because positive momentum creates emotional hope. When people repeatedly break promises to themselves, hopelessness grows. But when people start keeping small promises consistently, confidence slowly returns. That is why tiny victories matter. A 10-minute workout matters. Reading a few pages matters. Waking up on time matters. Every repeated action sends a message to the brain. I am becoming someone stronger. Identity grows through evidence, not imagination. This is why discipline ultimately becomes freedom. At first discipline feels restrictive. Later it becomes liberating. A disciplined person gains freedom from chaos. Freedom from emotional impulsiveness. Freedom from self-destruction. Freedom from constant regret. People often think freedom means doing whatever they want at any moment. But unlimited impulse usually creates suffering. Real freedom is self-control, the ability to choose wisely even when emotions pull you elsewhere. That ability changes lives. And remember this carefully, you do not need perfect discipline to rebuild yourself. You need consistent direction. There will be difficult days. Days where your mind feels tired. Days where old habits return temporarily. Days where motivation disappears completely. Do not panic. Do not destroy yourself emotionally over imperfect moments. One difficult day does not erase growth. One mistake does not erase identity. What matters is returning to awareness, returning to discipline, returning to the person you are becoming. Because rebuilding yourself is not about never falling. It is about refusing to stay down mentally. Every strong person you admire once struggled with inconsistency too. The difference is they kept rebuilding. Again, and again, and again, until discipline became identity, and eventually the things that once felt impossible became normal. Focus became normal, self-respect became normal, peace became normal. That transformation is possible for you too. Not instantly, but absolutely. And if you are still listening right now, understand this. The fact that you want growth already means something inside you refuses to settle for mediocrity emotionally. Protect that part of yourself. Feed it daily, because your future life is being shaped by the habits you repeat now. And one day you will either thank yourself for the discipline you built, or suffer from the discipline you avoided. The choice begins in small moments. Starting today. And if this journey is helping you rebuild your focus and self-discipline, stay connected with Splendor YT for the next part of this transformation. Your strongest self is not far away anymore. There is a version of you that exists only in your imagination right now. A calmer version, a stronger version, a more focused version, a version of you that wakes up with clarity instead of confusion. A version of you that no longer needs constant validation to feel worthy. A version of you that handles stress without collapsing emotionally. And deep down, you already know that version of yourself is possible. Otherwise you would not still be searching. People only search for growth when part of them believes transformation is still available. That is important, because hopeless people stop trying completely. The fact that you are here means something inside you still wants more from life. Not more noise, not more distraction, something deeper, peace, purpose, meaning, and meaning matters more than most people realize. Human beings can survive difficult situations longer when life still feels meaningful. But when meaning disappears, even simple days begin feeling heavy. That is what many people are experiencing right now. Not physical exhaustion alone, existential exhaustion. They wake up, work, scroll, sleep, repeat, and slowly life begins feeling mechanical, like survival instead of living. That emptiness cannot be solved through entertainment alone. Temporary pleasure is not the same as meaning. A person can laugh online and still feel emotionally lost privately. A person can achieve success and still feel empty internally. Because human beings do not only need stimulation, they need direction. This is why purpose matters deeply. Purpose gives suffering context. Purpose gives discipline meaning. Purpose gives pain direction. Without purpose, people drift emotionally. And drifting is dangerous because drifting usually leads toward distraction. The modern world constantly offers people ways to escape themselves. But very few people are taught how to build a meaningful inner life. That is why so many individuals secretly feel disconnected even when externally successful. They built an image, but never built inner peace. This is important because external success without internal stability eventually becomes exhausting. People spend years chasing goals believing, when I finally achieve this, I'll feel complete. But completion never arrives externally. Not permanently, because the human mind always adapts. A bigger house becomes normal. More money becomes normal. More attention becomes normal. This is called adaptation. The emotional high fades. That is why chasing endless achievement without inner growth creates emptiness eventually. The mind always asks, what next? And if identity depends entirely on achievement, peace becomes temporary. This does not mean ambition is bad. Ambition can be beautiful, purposeful work matters, growth matters, contribution matters, but ambition without emotional balance becomes self-destruction. Many people secretly sacrifice their health, relationships, and peace chasing goals they never even questioned deeply. Goals society told them to want, not goals connected to genuine meaning. That is why self-awareness matters so much. You must ask yourself difficult questions honestly. What kind of life actually feels meaningful to me? What kind of person do I want to become emotionally? What habits create peace in my life? What drains my spirit repeatedly? What truly matters beyond appearance? These questions slow the mind down. And slowing down is necessary because many people are moving so fast they never stop to examine the direction. Speed without direction creates emptiness. You can climb a mountain for years and still realize it was the wrong mountain emotionally. That realization terrifies many people, because modern culture rewards achievement more than alignment. People are praised for productivity even while emotionally collapsing internally. That is why rebuilding yourself requires redefining success. Success is not only money, not only status, not only attention. Real success includes peace. It includes emotional stability. It includes meaningful relationships. It includes self-respect. Because what is the value of achievement if your mind remains exhausted constantly? What is the value of attention if you secretly hate yourself internally? What is the value of success if your nervous system never feels calm? These questions matter deeply, especially now, because the modern world encourages external performance while neglecting inner health completely. That imbalance creates suffering, and eventually every human being reaches a moment where external appearance is no longer enough. A moment where they realize, I need to feel alive again. Not distracted, alive. There is a difference. Distraction numbs awareness temporarily. Aliveness expands awareness. Aliveness happens when your mind, body, and emotions feel connected again. You feel present, focused, clear, real. Many people have not felt truly present in years. Their body exists in one place while their attention exists somewhere else completely. Thinking about the future, regretting the past, comparing themselves online, worrying constantly. That mental fragmentation disconnects people from life itself. This is why presence matters more than most people understand. Presence restores connection. When you fully experience a moment, life feels real again. A peaceful morning, a deep conversation, a quiet walk, a focused hour of meaningful work. These moments rebuild the human spirit because they reconnect people to reality. And reality often feels calmer than the chaos inside the mind. Most anxiety lives in imagination. What if this goes wrong? What if I fail? What if I'm not enough? The mind creates endless future scenarios. Meanwhile, life is happening now. This moment, right here. That is why mindfulness matters. Not as a trend, as survival. Because a distracted mind eventually becomes an exhausted mind. The brain was not designed to carry endless mental noise continuously. It requires recovery, reflection, stillness. That is why silence feels powerful once you stop fearing it. Silence allows clarity to return. And clarity changes decisions. Many people are one clear decision away from transforming their entire future. But they cannot hear themselves think because distraction is too loud. This is why rebuilding yourself requires intentional pauses. Moments where you disconnect from noise and reconnect with your own thoughts. At first this may feel uncomfortable. That is normal. Many people spend years escaping themselves emotionally. Stillness reveals things distraction hides. Unprocessed emotions, fear, loneliness, regret. But facing emotions honestly is healthier than running forever. Avoided emotions do not disappear. They wait. And eventually emotional avoidance creates psychological heaviness. This is why emotionally strong people are not people who never feel pain. They are people willing to process pain consciously. That willingness creates healing. Healing is not becoming emotionless. Healing is becoming emotionally honest without losing yourself inside emotions. That balance changes lives. Because emotions are temporary experiences, not permanent identity. A difficult season does not define your future. A painful chapter does not define your entire story. Never forget that. Many people become trapped because they confuse temporary pain with permanent identity. They think, I feel lost, so my life is ruined. No, you are experiencing a season. And seasons change. Always. The strongest people understand this deeply. They stop expecting life to feel perfect constantly. Instead, they build resilience, adaptability, perspective. That mindset creates emotional endurance. And emotional endurance matters because life will challenge every human being eventually. Loss happens, failure happens, disappointment happens, unexpected change happens. No one escapes difficulty completely. But people who build strong internal foundations survive difficulty differently. They bend without breaking completely. They recover faster emotionally. They remain hopeful longer, not because life becomes easy, because their inner world becomes stronger. That is why rebuilding yourself internally is one of the most important things you can ever do. External circumstances always change, but inner strength travels with you everywhere. And the beautiful thing is this. Inner strength can be built daily, quietly, one decision at a time, one healed habit at a time, one honest conversation with yourself at a time. You do not need to transform overnight. You simply need to continue moving toward the person you want to become. Slowly, consistently, intentionally, because eventually small improvements become identity, and identity becomes destiny. One day you wake up and realize, your mind feels calmer. Your focus feels stronger, your confidence feels real, your peace no longer depends entirely on outside approval. That day changes everything, not because you became perfect, because you finally became connected to yourself again. And if you are listening right now, maybe that transformation has already started quietly inside you. Maybe this audiobook is not finding you accidentally. Maybe this is the moment your rebuild truly begins. So continue this journey with Splendor YT and stay with me for the next chapter. Because we are not only rebuilding habits anymore, we are rebuilding the way you experience life itself. There comes a moment in almost every person's life when they become tired of pretending. Tired of pretending they are okay. Tired of pretending they are motivated. Tired of pretending they are confident while secretly fighting anxiety every day. And strangely, that moment is often the beginning of real transformation. Because healing usually starts when performance ends. The problem is that modern culture rewards performance constantly. People are taught how to appear successful, how to look confident, how to build an image. But very few people are taught how to build emotional stability privately. That is why so many people are silently struggling behind perfect-looking lives. And maybe you understand that more than you admit. Maybe there are moments where you feel emotionally drained for reasons you cannot fully explain. Not because one terrible thing happened, but because life slowly became heavy. Heavy mentally, heavy emotionally, heavy spiritually. This happens when people spend too long disconnected from themselves. Disconnected from rest. Disconnected from purpose. Disconnected from peace. At first the symptoms look small. Less focus, less patience, less motivation. Then slowly deeper problems appear. Overthinking, emotional numbness, anxiety, burnout, a constant feeling that something inside you is exhausted. And many people try solving this by adding more stimulation, more entertainment, more scrolling, more distraction. But stimulation is not healing. Sometimes healing requires the opposite. Slowing down enough to finally hear yourself clearly. That sounds simple, but in the modern world, slowing down feels uncomfortable for many people. Because silence exposes emotional truth. When noise disappears, unresolved thoughts become louder. Regret becomes louder. Fear becomes louder. Loneliness becomes louder. So people escape back into distraction again. Not because they are weak. Because avoidance feels safer temporarily. But temporary avoidance creates long-term suffering. This is why emotional healing requires courage. The courage to stop running. The courage to observe your life honestly. The courage to admit what is no longer working. That level of honesty changes people. Because once a person stops lying to themselves, growth accelerates. Many people already know what is damaging their peace. Deep down they know, the unhealthy habits, the toxic environments, the constant comparison, the endless distraction, the people draining their energy, the routines destroying their focus. They know, but awareness without action creates frustration. Eventually every person must decide, will I continue repeating the same emotional patterns, or will I rebuild my life intentionally? That decision matters, because repeated patterns become destiny, not instantly, gradually, one repeated thought, one repeated habit, one repeated emotional reaction at a time. This is why small choices matter so much. The modern world teaches people to chase dramatic transformation, but real transformation is usually quiet. A person starts sleeping earlier consistently, starts protecting their attention, starts speaking to themselves differently, starts spending less time around negativity, starts keeping promises to themselves. These changes look small externally. Internally they rebuild identity, and identity changes everything, because once a person begins respecting themselves again, their standards rise naturally. They stop tolerating chaos as easily. They stop abandoning their goals so quickly. They stop seeking validation from everyone around them. This is what emotional growth looks like. Not perfection, alignment. Your actions begin aligning with the person you want to become. And alignment creates peace. Internal conflict creates exhaustion. Think about how draining it feels when your actions constantly betray your values. When you know what you should do but repeatedly avoid it. That disconnect damages self-trust. But every disciplined action rebuilds trust slightly. Every healthy boundary rebuilds respect slightly. Every moment of honesty rebuilds clarity slightly. This is why rebuilding yourself is not one huge decision. It is thousands of small decisions repeated consistently. And eventually those small decisions create a completely different person. Not fake transformation, real transformation, the kind people can feel when they speak to you. Calm energy, clear thinking, emotional stability, presence. These qualities become rare in distracted societies. That is why emotionally grounded people feel powerful, not because they control others, because they control themselves. Self-control is one of the greatest forms of freedom. A person unable to control impulses becomes emotionally trapped. Trapped by distraction, trapped by cravings, trapped by emotional reactions, trapped by temporary feelings. But disciplined awareness creates freedom. Freedom to choose your responses intentionally. Freedom to protect your peace. Freedom to build your future consciously. This matters deeply because many people are not actually living intentionally anymore. They are reacting automatically. Wake up, check phone, consume noise, react emotionally, repeat. Days become months, months become years, and eventually people wonder where their life went. That realization can feel painful, but pain is not always negative. Sometimes pain is awakening. Sometimes emotional discomfort is the mind saying, you cannot continue living disconnected from yourself. That message matters, because numbness is dangerous. A numb person stops dreaming, stops growing, stops believing change is possible. But the fact that you are still here listening means something important. Part of you still believes in your future. Part of you still wants peace, still wants growth, still wants clarity. Protect that part of yourself carefully, because the modern world constantly tries to weaken it. Through distraction, comparison, fear, noise. That is why rebuilding yourself requires protecting your mental environment intentionally. Your mind absorbs energy constantly. What you watch affects you. What you listen to affects you. Who you spend time with affects you. Everything leaves psychological residue. And once you understand this deeply, you stop treating your attention carelessly. You become selective, intentional, protective of your peace, not because you became antisocial, because you finally understand the value of emotional energy. Energy determines consistency, consistency determines growth, and growth determines future identity. This is why emotional exhaustion destroys potential. A tired mind struggles to dream. A distracted mind struggles to focus. An anxious mind struggles to trust itself. That is why inner healing matters so much. Because external success becomes difficult when your internal world remains chaotic constantly. Many people attempt to change their life externally while neglecting their inner life completely. That rarely lasts. Real transformation starts internally first. Thoughts change, beliefs change, habits change, then external reality begins shifting too. This process takes time, and patience matters here, because healing is rarely linear. Some days you feel strong. Some days old emotions return. Some days motivation disappears completely. Do not panic during those moments. Growth is not destroyed by difficult days. Progress is not erased by temporary setbacks. What matters is returning to awareness, returning to discipline, returning to the future you are building. Because rebuilding yourself is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming conscious. Conscious of your habits, conscious of your emotional patterns, conscious of what strengthens your mind and what weakens it. That awareness becomes power, and once awareness grows strong enough, old patterns lose control gradually. This is how transformation actually happens. Quietly, repeatedly, internally, until one day the person who once felt lost realizes something incredible. They are no longer surviving emotionally. They are finally living intentionally. That moment changes everything, and if you are listening right now, maybe that moment is getting closer for you too. Maybe your mind is already waking up. Maybe your future is already shifting through these small realizations. Because clarity changes behavior, and behavior changes destiny. So stay with me on Splendor YT for the next part of this journey. Your rebuild is no longer an idea anymore. It is becoming your new reality. Most people are waiting for a perfect moment before they finally change their life. A perfect mood, a perfect opportunity, a perfect version of themselves. But the truth is, perfect moments rarely arrive. Life is usually messy while transformation is happening. You feel uncertain while rebuilding confidence. You feel distracted while rebuilding focus. You feel emotionally tired while rebuilding discipline. That is normal. Growth does not begin after fear disappears. Growth begins when a person moves despite fear. And fear exists in more people than you realize. People fear failure. People fear rejection. People fear being judged. But there is another fear that quietly destroys millions of lives. The fear of becoming who they could have been. Think about that carefully. Imagine reaching the end of your life and realizing you spent most of it distracted. Most of it doubting yourself. Most of it abandoning your own potential. That realization would hurt deeply. And deep down many people already feel small versions of that pain now. Because somewhere inside them they know they are capable of more. More focus, more discipline, more peace, more courage, more life. But capability alone changes nothing. Action changes everything. And action becomes difficult when a person is emotionally overwhelmed constantly. This is why rebuilding your emotional health matters first. Because emotional exhaustion quietly destroys ambition. A tired mind avoids challenge, avoids growth, avoids discomfort. That is why many people stay trapped in cycles they secretly hate. Not because they enjoy suffering. Because exhaustion weakens decision-making. When the mind feels overloaded, temporary comfort becomes more attractive than long-term growth. That is why people procrastinate. Not always because they are lazy. Sometimes because their nervous system is overwhelmed. Modern life keeps people emotionally overstimulated constantly. Too much information. Too much comparison, too much urgency, too much noise. The human brain was never designed for non-stop stimulation every waking hour. And eventually the nervous system starts protecting itself through avoidance. This is important to understand because many people hate themselves for struggling. But self-hatred does not heal exhaustion. Awareness heals it. Recovery heals it. Intentional living heals it. That is why slowing down is powerful. Not laziness. Strategic slowing down. Moments where you stop consuming noise and start listening to yourself again. At first this can feel uncomfortable. Because many people are unfamiliar with their own thoughts now. They know social media trends better than they know their own emotions. But eventually something beautiful happens during stillness. Clarity returns. You begin hearing your intuition again. You begin noticing what drains your energy. You begin recognizing which habits weaken your peace. And slowly you stop living automatically. This is where personal power returns. Awareness creates choice. An unconscious person reacts automatically. A conscious person responds intentionally. That difference changes lives. Because life is shaped through repeated responses. How you respond to stress matters. How you respond to failure matters. How you respond to loneliness matters. How you respond to uncertainty matters. Your responses slowly become identity. This is why emotionally strong people appear calm during chaos. Not because they never feel fear. Because they train themselves not to panic emotionally every time life becomes difficult. That ability creates resilience. And resilience is becoming one of the most important skills in the modern world. Because uncertainty is everywhere now. Technology changes rapidly. Industries change rapidly. Relationships change rapidly. The future feels unpredictable for many people. And when uncertainty increases, emotional stability becomes priceless. The people who thrive in difficult times are not always the most talented people. Often they are the most adaptable emotionally. They know how to remain grounded while everything changes around them. That is why rebuilding your inner world matters more than ever. External certainty will never last forever. But inner stability travels with you everywhere. A calm mind sees opportunities more clearly. A focused mind makes wiser decisions. An emotionally stable person recovers faster from setbacks. Everything improves when the inner world strengthens. This is why your habits matter so much. Habits are not just routines. Habits are identity in motion. Every repeated action reinforces a version of yourself. If you repeatedly avoid discomfort, avoidance becomes identity. If you repeatedly choose discipline, strength becomes identity. People often underestimate how much their daily choices shape their future personality. A person who repeatedly chooses focus eventually becomes focused. A person who repeatedly chooses honesty eventually becomes emotionally clear. A person who repeatedly chooses growth eventually becomes powerful internally. Identity is built daily, quietly, through repetition. That means your future is not created in one dramatic moment. It is created through ordinary moments repeated consistently. This should inspire you, because it means you do not need to change your entire life overnight. You simply need to start changing your direction consistently. One healthier decision today matters. One focused hour matters. One honest conversation matters. One moment of self-control matters. Small moments become powerful when repeated. This is how confidence grows too. Confidence is not magic. Confidence is evidence. Evidence that you can trust yourself. Every promise you keep to yourself strengthens confidence slightly. Every time you follow through despite discomfort, identity changes slightly. And eventually those small shifts create massive emotional transformation. That is why rebuilding yourself requires patience. Because lasting growth is usually invisible in the beginning. Like roots growing underground before the tree appears. Many people quit too early because they expect immediate external results. But internal growth happens first. The nervous system changes slowly. Thinking patterns change slowly. Emotional resilience develops slowly. Trust the process, especially during quiet seasons where progress feels invisible. Those seasons matter deeply, because invisible growth is still growth. A person learning emotional control may still feel anxiety sometimes. That does not mean healing is failing. A person rebuilding discipline may still struggle occasionally. That does not mean transformation is impossible. Growth is rarely perfect. It is messy, human, gradual, and that is okay. Stop expecting yourself to transform like a machine. You are not a machine. You are a human being rebuilding your life while carrying emotions, memories, fears, and habits shaped over many years. Be patient with that process. Not passive, patient. There is a difference. Patience does not mean avoiding growth. It means understanding that meaningful change takes time. And time will pass anyway. 1 year from now you will either be stronger mentally, or still trapped inside the same patterns. The choice is hidden inside your daily habits. That is why mornings matter. Attention matters. Sleep matters. Environment matters. Everything influences the quality of your mind. And the quality of your mind influences the quality of your life. This is why protecting your peace is not weakness. It is wisdom. Some people normalize chaos because chaos feels familiar. But familiar does not always mean healthy. Many people grew up surrounded by stress, criticism, emotional instability, or noise. As adults, they unconsciously recreate those environments because calm feels unfamiliar. This is why healing sometimes feels uncomfortable at first. Peace can feel strange to a nervous system trained for chaos. But eventually your mind adapts. The same brain that adapted to stress can adapt to calm. The same mind that learned distraction can relearn focus. The same person who once felt lost can become emotionally grounded again. Never underestimate human adaptability. People can rebuild themselves more deeply than they realize. But first they must believe change is possible. That belief matters, because hopelessness destroys action, and action creates transformation. So if you are listening right now, remember this carefully. You do not need to become perfect to deserve peace. You do not need to have everything figured out to start rebuilding your life. You simply need the courage to begin. And maybe, that beginning is happening right now. So continue this journey with Splendor YT and stay with me for the next chapter. Because the person you are becoming is already stronger than the person who almost gave up. There is a silent battle happening inside millions of people every single day. And most of the world cannot see it. Because mental battles are invisible. A person can look calm outside while fighting chaos internally. They can smile while overthinking constantly. They can continue working while emotionally exhausted. They can keep showing up for everyone else while secretly falling apart inside. That is why you should never underestimate what people are carrying privately. Everyone is fighting something: fear, stress, loneliness, regret, pressure, uncertainty, and in the modern world, people rarely give themselves enough time to process any of it. They distract themselves instead, not because they are weak, because distraction feels easier than emotional honesty. But eventually unprocessed emotions begin affecting everything. Focus weakens, patience weakens, motivation weakens, confidence weakens, and slowly life starts feeling heavier than it should. This is why emotional awareness matters so much. Most people are taught how to hide emotions. Very few are taught how to understand them. But emotions are messages. Anxiety often signals overwhelm. Anger often hides pain. Burnout often signals imbalance. Loneliness often signals disconnection from meaningful relationships or even from yourself. Ignoring these signals does not solve them. It usually intensifies them. Imagine driving a car while ignoring every warning light on the dashboard. Eventually something breaks down. The human mind works similarly. Emotional exhaustion is not weakness. It is often a signal that something inside your life requires attention. Maybe your habits are draining you. Maybe your environment is draining you. Maybe your thoughts are draining you. Maybe you have spent too long carrying stress without recovery. These things matter, because mental health is not separate from daily life. Everything affects the nervous system. Sleep affects emotions. Food affects energy. Environment affects focus. Thoughts affect behavior. Relationships affect peace. Everything connects. That is why rebuilding yourself requires looking at your life honestly as a whole. Not just one habit. Your entire lifestyle shapes your emotional state. And many people are unknowingly living in ways that constantly overstimulate the nervous system. Too much noise. Too much urgency. Too much pressure. Too much information. Too little recovery. Then they wonder why anxiety keeps growing. The nervous system needs rest. Real rest, not endless entertainment. There is a difference between distraction and recovery. Watching videos for 5 hours may distract the mind temporarily. But true recovery restores emotional energy. Silence restores energy. Sleep restores energy. Nature restores energy. Meaningful connection restores energy. Stillness restores energy. This is why peaceful environments feel healing. The nervous system finally stops fighting for survival mentally. And once survival mode slows down, clarity begins returning. That clarity is powerful, because people make dangerous decisions when emotionally exhausted. They quit too early, react impulsively, destroy relationships, abandon goals, speak carelessly, All because emotional overwhelm weakens perspective. This is why emotional regulation is one of the most important life skills a person can develop. Not emotional suppression, emotional regulation. There is a difference. Suppressing emotions means pretending they do not exist. Regulating emotions means understanding them without allowing them to control every action. Emotionally mature people still feel deeply. They simply pause before reacting. That pause changes everything. One pause can save a relationship, save an opportunity, save years of regret. But modern culture trains people to react instantly. Instant opinions, instant outrage, instant emotional reactions online. This weakens emotional discipline. A reactive mind becomes unstable. A calm mind becomes powerful. That is why slowing down before reacting is important, especially during emotional moments. Anger passes, fear passes, stress passes, but words spoken impulsively can last years. This is why emotional control creates peace. Not only internally, externally too. Many people destroy their own peace through uncontrolled reactions. Not because they are bad people, because they never learned emotional awareness. And emotional awareness is learned through observation. You begin noticing patterns. What triggers you emotionally? What drains your energy? What repeatedly destroys your focus? What environments calm your mind? Awareness creates understanding. Understanding creates better choices. That process slowly changes identity. This is why journaling can be powerful. Not because writing magically fixes life. Because writing slows thinking down. Many people never stop long enough to hear their own thoughts clearly. Their mind moves too fast constantly. Writing creates reflection. Reflection creates clarity. Clarity creates emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence changes every area of life. Relationships improve. Communication improves. Decision-making improves. Even self-discipline improves. Because emotionally intelligent people understand something important. Temporary emotions should not control permanent decisions. That awareness prevents self-destruction. Many people make life harder because they react emotionally to temporary pain. One rejection happens and they give up on themselves. One failure happens and they stop trying. One difficult season happens and they assume life will always feel heavy. But emotions are temporary experiences, not permanent identity. You are not your worst moment. You are not your anxiety. You are not your fear. You are not your past mistakes. Human beings are constantly evolving. That means your future does not need to resemble your past forever. But growth requires perspective, and perspective becomes difficult when the mind remains overloaded constantly. This is why protecting your mental environment matters deeply. Not every piece of information deserves your attention. Not every argument deserves your energy. Not every opinion deserves emotional space inside your mind. Mentally strong people become selective. Selective with energy, selective with environment, selective with what they consume daily. Because they understand the brain absorbs everything repeatedly exposed to it. That includes negativity, fear, comparison, chaos. Eventually the nervous system mirrors the environment surrounding it most often. This is why peaceful people protect their routines carefully. Not because life is perfect. Because routines stabilize the mind during imperfect seasons. Morning routines matter. Sleep routines matter. Exercise matters. Quiet time matters. These habits appear simple externally. Internally they create psychological stability. And psychological stability creates resilience. Resilience matters because difficult seasons are unavoidable. Every human being experiences pain eventually. Loss happens. Disappointment happens. Unexpected change happens. No one escapes struggle completely. But emotionally resilient people recover differently. They do not avoid pain completely. They process pain differently. They remain hopeful longer, adapt faster, learn faster, grow stronger, not because they are emotionless, because they built strong internal foundations. That is why rebuilding your inner world matters more than chasing appearances constantly. Appearances can fool strangers, but they cannot create peace privately. Real peace comes from emotional alignment. When your mind feels clear, your habits feel intentional, your relationships feel healthy, Your life feels meaningful. That type of peace is powerful because it cannot be faked. And deep down, everyone is searching for it. Not endless stimulation, not endless attention. Peace, that is what many people truly want. To wake up without constant mental chaos. To sleep without overthinking everything. To feel emotionally stable instead of overwhelmed. That future is possible, but it requires intentional living, intentional thoughts, intentional habits, intentional boundaries, intentional recovery, because peace is rarely created accidentally in modern life. It must be protected consciously, and protecting your peace may become one of the most important decisions you ever make. So if you are listening right now, remember this carefully. A calm mind is not weak. A peaceful life is not boring. Emotional stability is not ordinary. In the modern world, it is a superpower. And if this journey is helping you reconnect with your inner strength, stay with Splendor YT for the next chapter. Because we are not only rebuilding your mindset anymore, we are rebuilding your entire relationship with life. At some point in life, every person must answer one difficult question. Who am I when nobody is watching? Not when people are praising you. Not when social media approves of you. Not when everything is going perfectly. But in private, alone with your habits, alone with your thoughts, alone with your decisions. Because character is revealed in silence. And the truth is, many people are exhausted because they have been performing for too long. Performing confidence, performing happiness, performing success. Meanwhile, internally they feel disconnected from themselves. This creates emotional conflict. The outside image grows stronger while the inner world grows weaker. Eventually the pressure becomes overwhelming. That is why authenticity matters deeply. Human beings were not designed to live behind emotional masks forever. At some point the real self demands attention. The exhausted self, the anxious self, the uncertain self, the part of you that wants peace more than performance. And maybe that is exactly why you are listening to this right now. Maybe part of you is tired of pretending everything is fine, tired of carrying pressure silently, tired of constantly comparing your life to everyone else online. That exhaustion is understandable. The modern world constantly encourages comparison. People compare income, appearance, relationships, success, lifestyle, even happiness, and comparison quietly destroys gratitude. Because when attention stays focused on what other people have, people stop appreciating their own progress. This creates a dangerous mindset. No achievement feels enough. No success feels satisfying. No progress feels meaningful, because someone else always appears ahead. That is why comparison becomes endless suffering. There will always be somebody richer, smarter, more attractive, more successful. If your self-worth depends on being better than everyone else, peace becomes impossible. This is why emotionally strong people stop measuring life through constant comparison. They focus on alignment instead. Am I becoming healthier emotionally? Am I becoming more disciplined, more peaceful, more honest, more intentional? These questions create growth. Comparison creates insecurity, and insecurity is profitable in modern culture. Insecure people consume more, seek more validation, compare more often, doubt themselves constantly. But people who genuinely know themselves become harder to manipulate. That is why self-awareness is powerful. Self-aware people recognize their emotional patterns. They know what triggers them. They know what drains them. They know what strengthens their mind. This creates emotional independence, not complete isolation. Healthy independence. The ability to remain emotionally grounded even when life becomes uncertain. That skill matters more than ever now. Because modern life is filled with uncertainty. People are afraid of falling behind. Afraid of failure. Afraid of rejection. Afraid of becoming irrelevant. And fear constantly pushes people toward performance. Toward proving themselves endlessly. But here is the truth. You do not need to constantly prove your worth to deserve peace. You do not need endless external validation to justify your existence. Human value is deeper than productivity, deeper than attention, deeper than status. And once people truly understand this, their entire relationship with life changes. They stop chasing approval obsessively. They stop abandoning themselves emotionally just to satisfy everyone else. They stop tolerating environments destroying their peace. Because self-respect grows, and self-respect changes standards. A person with self-respect protects their energy differently, protects their time differently, protects their mind differently. That is why rebuilding yourself requires boundaries, not walls. Boundaries. There is a difference. Walls isolate people emotionally. Boundaries protect emotional health. Healthy boundaries teach others how to treat you. More importantly, they teach you how to treat yourself. Every time you say yes while your soul is screaming no, self-respect weakens slightly. Every time you tolerate constant disrespect, inner peace weakens slightly. Every time you abandon your own needs completely to satisfy everyone else, emotional exhaustion grows. This is why boundaries matter, especially for people who spent years people-pleasing. People pleasers often confuse self-sacrifice with kindness. So they overextend themselves emotionally, carry problems that are not theirs, absorb everyone else's stress, and eventually become emotionally drained. Not because they are weak, because they never learned how to protect their own energy. Protecting your peace is not selfish. It is necessary, especially in a distracted and emotionally overwhelming world. You cannot pour endlessly into everyone else while neglecting your own mental health completely. Eventually burnout appears, resentment appears, exhaustion appears. This is why emotionally healthy people learn how to say no, not aggressively, clearly, because clarity creates peace, and peace matters more than endless approval. Many people lose themselves trying to become liked by everyone, but trying to please everyone usually creates internal emptiness, because eventually the real self disappears underneath performance. This is why authenticity feels powerful. Authentic people feel calm because they are not constantly acting. They are aligned internally. That alignment creates confidence naturally. Real confidence is not loud arrogance. It is self-trust, the ability to remain yourself without needing constant validation. And self-trust is built through honesty, keeping promises to yourself, protecting your standards, living according to your values even when nobody is watching. That creates inner stability. Many people search for confidence externally without realizing confidence is built internally first. A person who trusts themselves emotionally walks through life differently. They recover from failure faster, handle criticism better, make decisions more clearly, because their identity no longer depends entirely on outside opinions. This is important because the modern world constantly offers opinions. Everyone has advice. Everyone has judgments. Everyone has expectations. If you try to satisfy every opinion around you, you eventually lose yourself completely. That is why self-knowledge matters. You must know who you are independently from public approval. Otherwise, the world will define you constantly. And a person defined entirely by external voices eventually becomes emotionally unstable. This is why solitude can be powerful, not loneliness. Solitude. There is a difference. Loneliness feels empty. Solitude creates clarity. Some of the most important realizations in life happen during quiet moments alone. When distractions disappear, when noise fades, when you finally hear your own thoughts clearly. At first this can feel uncomfortable. Many people are unfamiliar with themselves now. But eventually silence becomes healing. Because silence reconnects people to truth. And truth creates transformation. You begin realizing what genuinely matters to you. What type of life feels meaningful. What relationships feel healthy. What habits strengthen your peace. This awareness changes decisions. And decisions change destiny. That is why rebuilding yourself requires honesty more than motivation. Motivation comes and goes. Honesty creates lasting change. Honesty about your habits, your emotional patterns, your environment, your priorities. That honesty becomes power because it removes illusion. And once illusion disappears, growth becomes possible. This process is not always easy. Growth sometimes requires difficult endings, difficult conversations, difficult realizations, but avoiding truth usually creates deeper suffering later. Temporary discomfort often creates long-term freedom. That is why emotionally mature people stop running from uncomfortable truths. They face them, learn from them, grow through them, and slowly they become stronger internally. Not perfect, stronger. There is a huge difference. Perfection creates pressure. Growth creates peace. Stop demanding perfection from yourself. Human beings are imperfect by nature. You will have difficult days. Moments of doubt. Moments where old habits return temporarily. Do not panic. Transformation is not destroyed by imperfection. What matters is returning to awareness, returning to discipline, returning to your future self. Because rebuilding yourself is ultimately an act of self-respect, a decision that your future matters enough to protect. And if you are listening right now, maybe that decision is already growing inside you. Maybe you are finally becoming tired of surviving emotionally. Maybe you are finally ready to build a life that feels peaceful instead of performative. If that is true, your transformation has already begun. So continue this journey with Splendor YT and stay with me for the next chapter. Because the strongest version of you is no longer imaginary anymore. It is slowly becoming real. There is a reason some people walk into a room and immediately feel different. Not louder, not more aggressive, not more attention-seeking, just different, calmer, grounded, present. You can feel it without them saying much. That kind of energy does not come from money, or status, or social media validation. It comes from inner stability. And inner stability is becoming rare. Most people today are emotionally reactive. Small problems destroy their mood. Small criticism destroys their confidence. Small setbacks destroy their motivation. Because their emotional state depends entirely on external circumstances. But emotionally grounded people develop something powerful: internal control. They stop allowing every situation to control their peace completely. That changes everything. Because life will never become perfectly stable. Unexpected problems will always appear. Difficult people will always exist. Stressful seasons will always happen. The question is not whether life becomes difficult sometimes. The question is whether your mind collapses every time difficulty appears. This is why emotional resilience matters more than ever now. Resilience is not pretending pain does not exist. It is learning how to continue moving forward without losing yourself emotionally. That skill changes lives, especially during difficult seasons. Many people secretly believe strong people never struggle mentally. But that is not true. Strong people feel fear too. They feel stress too. They feel sadness too. The difference is they learned how to process emotions without becoming controlled by them completely. That balance creates stability, and stability creates confidence. Real confidence is not the belief that life will always go perfectly. It is the belief that you can handle difficult moments without destroying yourself internally. That type of confidence cannot be faked. It is built through experience, through survival, through rebuilding yourself repeatedly after difficult seasons. Every painful chapter teaches something. Failure teaches humility. Loss teaches perspective. Loneliness teaches self-awareness. Disappointment teaches emotional endurance. And while painful experiences hurt, they often shape people deeply. Some of the strongest individuals you will ever meet were built through seasons nobody saw. Quiet battles, private struggles, moments where they almost gave up emotionally. But they kept rebuilding. That is why emotional resilience matters more than temporary motivation. Motivation disappears during difficult seasons. Resilience keeps people moving anyway. And resilience is built through repetition. Every time you survive something painful without quitting on yourself completely, resilience grows slightly. Every time you choose growth instead of bitterness, resilience grows slightly. Every time you remain disciplined despite emotional discomfort, resilience grows slightly. This process slowly changes identity. A person who once felt emotionally fragile becomes mentally stronger, not because life became easier, because they adapted. Human beings are incredibly adaptable. Never underestimate that. The same person who once believed they could not survive heartbreak eventually heals. The same person who once felt lost eventually finds direction again. The same person who once struggled with anxiety can eventually build emotional control. Growth is possible, even after painful seasons, especially after painful seasons. Because pain often forces awareness. Many people do not begin changing until discomfort becomes impossible to ignore. That is human nature. Comfort rarely creates transformation. Challenge does. This is why difficult seasons can become turning points instead of endings. If approached correctly, pain becomes information. It reveals what needs healing, what needs changing, what patterns no longer serve your future. This awareness creates opportunity, and opportunity creates transformation, but only if a person remains open emotionally. Pain can either make people wiser, or more emotionally closed. That choice matters. Some people experience disappointment and decide, I will never trust again. Others decide, I will heal and become stronger. Same pain, different response. That response shapes destiny, because life is not only what happens to people, it is also how people interpret what happens. Perspective changes emotional reality. A setback can become proof that life is over, or proof that growth is necessary. A failure can become shame, or education. Everything depends on interpretation. This is why mindset matters so deeply. Your thoughts shape emotional experience. Not every thought deserves belief. This is important, especially during difficult emotional moments. The mind says extreme things during pain. I will never recover. I am not enough. My future is ruined. But emotions distort perspective sometimes. That is why emotionally mature people learn how to pause before believing every negative thought. Thoughts are mental events, not always truth, and awareness creates distance from destructive thinking. This is why mindfulness matters. Mindfulness teaches observation instead of immediate reaction. Instead of becoming consumed by every emotion, you begin witnessing emotions calmly. That changes everything, because once awareness grows stronger, emotional impulsiveness weakens. You stop reacting automatically. You stop panicking as quickly. You stop allowing temporary feelings to control permanent decisions. This creates peace, not perfect peace, human peace, stable peace, the kind of peace that survives difficult days. Many people think peace means a life without problems. No, peace means the ability to remain emotionally grounded despite problems. That is real strength, and it becomes increasingly important in the modern world because modern life constantly attacks emotional stability. Breaking news creates fear. Social media creates comparison. Algorithms create outrage. Everything competes for emotional reaction. Calm people become rare because modern systems profit from emotional chaos. That is why protecting your mental state matters deeply. Not every argument deserves your attention. Not every opinion deserves your emotional energy. Not every distraction deserves your focus. Emotionally intelligent people become selective. They understand energy is limited, and where energy goes repeatedly shapes identity. This is why focus matters. Attention is not just concentration. Attention is life direction. Whatever repeatedly captures your focus slowly shapes your personality. Focus on negativity constantly and anxiety grows. Focus on comparison constantly and insecurity grows. Focus on growth consistently and confidence grows. The mind adapts according to repeated focus. That means protecting your attention is one of the most important acts of self-respect in modern life. And self-respect changes everything. A person who respects themselves thinks differently, moves differently, chooses differently. They stop settling for habits destroying their future. They stop normalizing emotional chaos. They stop abandoning themselves internally. This process does not happen overnight. It happens gradually, quietly, one healthier decision at a time, one healed habit at a time, one emotionally honest moment at a time. That is how identity changes. Not through dramatic speeches, through repetition. Many people underestimate how powerful small actions become over time. A 10-minute walk daily changes the nervous system gradually. Reading consistently changes thinking gradually. Protecting sleep changes emotional stability gradually. Everything compounds. Both healthy habits and destructive habits compound. That means your future is shaped by repeated patterns more than isolated moments. This should inspire you, because it means small improvements matter deeply. You do not need to fix your entire life today. You simply need to continue moving in the right direction consistently. That is enough. Real growth is quieter than social media makes it seem. Sometimes growth looks like finally resting properly, finally saying no, finally protecting your peace, finally forgiving yourself, finally beginning again after failure. These moments matter. They rebuild identity, and identity shapes destiny. That is why your future is not decided only by your past. It is decided by the person you repeatedly become starting now. Never forget that. No matter how lost someone feels, human beings can rebuild themselves. Focus can return, confidence can return, purpose can return, peace can return, but only when a person stops waiting for rescue and begins rebuilding intentionally. That decision changes everything, and maybe that decision is happening inside you right now. If this journey is helping you reconnect with your strength, continue with Splendor YT and stay with me for the next chapter. Because your life is no longer moving toward survival. It is moving toward transformation. One day you suddenly realize something strange. The things that once controlled you no longer have the same power. The constant need for validation becomes quieter. The urge to react emotionally becomes weaker. The distractions that once consumed hours of your life begin losing their grip. And for the first time in a long time, your mind feels different. Clearer, lighter, more stable. That is the moment rebuilding becomes real. Not when life becomes perfect, but when you begin recognizing yourself again. Because deep down, most people do not actually want endless stimulation. They want peace, real peace, the kind of peace where your mind no longer feels at war with itself every day. The kind of peace where silence no longer feels uncomfortable. The kind of peace where you stop constantly questioning your worth. That peace is possible, but it requires something difficult. Letting go. And many people struggle with letting go because they built identity around pain. Around old habits. Around old stories. Some people still carry versions of themselves that should have been released years ago. Old guilt, old shame, old resentment, old fear, and carrying emotional weight for too long becomes exhausting. Eventually the mind reaches a point where it quietly says, I cannot continue living like this. That moment matters deeply, because exhaustion often becomes the doorway to transformation. People change when the pain of staying the same becomes heavier than the fear of changing. And maybe that is happening inside you right now. Maybe you are finally tired of abandoning yourself emotionally, tired of doubting yourself constantly, tired of surviving instead of living. If so, listen carefully. You do not need to become someone entirely new. You need to return to yourself. The real version, the calmer version, the focused version, the emotionally honest version hidden underneath years of noise and distraction. That version still exists. And rebuilding yourself is really the process of uncovering that person again. Not through perfection, through awareness. Awareness changes everything. Once you become conscious of your emotional patterns, your habits stop controlling you automatically. You begin noticing when distraction is stealing your peace. You begin noticing when comparison is damaging your confidence. You begin noticing which environments weaken your spirit. That awareness creates choice. And choice creates freedom. This is why conscious living matters. An unconscious life becomes repetitive. Wake up, react, consume noise, repeat. Years disappear like that, but conscious living slows everything down. You begin questioning your habits intentionally, questioning your priorities intentionally, questioning what truly matters. That process creates clarity, and clarity creates peace. Many people are not actually searching for motivation anymore. They are searching for clarity. Because once clarity exists, decisions become easier. You stop wasting energy trying to become everything for everyone. You stop chasing every distraction. You stop abandoning your own peace to satisfy external expectations constantly. That changes life deeply, especially emotionally, because emotional exhaustion often comes from internal conflict. Trying to live a life that no longer aligns with your spirit. Trying to please everyone while neglecting yourself completely. Trying to maintain an image while silently struggling inside. Eventually the soul becomes tired. And when the soul becomes tired, external success no longer feels satisfying. That is why some people achieve everything they once wanted and still feel empty internally. Because achievement without alignment creates emotional disconnection. Real fulfillment feels different. It feels peaceful, grounded, meaningful, not perfect, meaningful. There is a huge difference. And meaningful living usually comes from simplicity more than excess. A calm morning, meaningful work, honest relationships, healthy routines, a clear mind, a peaceful heart. These things sound simple, but in the modern world, they are becoming rare. Because modern culture constantly pushes people toward more noise, more consumption, more pressure, more stimulation. Meanwhile, the human nervous system quietly begs for stillness. This is why slowing down can feel healing. Not lazy, healing. The body relaxes, the mind settles, the nervous system finally feels safe enough to rest. Many people have forgotten what true rest feels like. Not distraction, rest. Real rest restores emotional energy. And emotional energy matters because life becomes much harder when the spirit feels exhausted constantly. A tired mind struggles to dream, struggles to focus, struggles to believe in the future. That is why protecting your emotional health is not optional anymore. It is necessary, especially in a world designed to overload your attention constantly. And protecting your emotional health requires boundaries. Boundaries with technology, boundaries with negativity, boundaries with people who constantly drain your peace. This can feel difficult at first, especially if you spent years prioritizing everyone else over yourself. But eventually you realize something powerful. Every time you protect your peace, self-respect grows. And self-respect changes identity. You begin choosing differently, speaking differently, living differently, not because someone forced you, because your standards changed internally. Growth changes standards. A person rebuilding themselves no longer tolerates endless chaos comfortably. They become intentional, with time, with energy, with attention, because they finally understand something important. Life is shaped by what repeatedly receives your focus. That means your future depends on where your attention goes daily. If your attention constantly feeds anxiety, distraction, and comparison, emotional peace becomes difficult. But if your attention feeds growth, discipline, healing, and presence, transformation begins naturally. This is why your environment matters so much. Everything influences the nervous system. What you watch, what you read, who you spend time with, what conversations surround you daily. Energy spreads, and emotionally healthy people become careful about what they repeatedly expose themselves to. Not fearful, intentional. There is wisdom in protecting your mind. Especially now, because modern life moves fast enough to disconnect people from themselves completely. People chase goals without asking why, consume information without reflection, stay busy without feeling fulfilled. And eventually emptiness appears, not because they failed, because they lost connection with meaning. This is why purpose matters more than endless productivity. Purpose gives life emotional depth. Purpose gives discipline direction. Purpose gives pain context. Without purpose, people drift emotionally, and drifting creates emptiness. That is why rebuilding yourself is not only about habits. It is about reconnecting with meaning again. Meaning in your work, meaning in your relationships, meaning in your daily life, meaning in who you are becoming. Because once life feels meaningful again, energy changes. Hope returns. Focus returns. Motivation returns naturally, not forced, natural. This is the beautiful thing about healing. As the mind becomes clearer, life begins feeling lighter. Not because problems disappear completely, because your relationship with yourself changes. And your relationship with yourself influences everything. The way you think, the way you speak, the way you love, the way you recover from pain. Everything changes once inner stability returns. That is why rebuilding yourself is one of the most important journeys a human being can experience. Because external success means very little if your inner world remains chaotic constantly. But once peace grows internally, life feels different. Breathing feels different. Thinking feels different, living feels different, and one day you realize something incredible. You are no longer the person who almost gave up on themselves. You survived that version. And now, you are becoming someone stronger, someone calmer, someone wiser, someone emotionally free, not perfect, free. That freedom changes everything. So if you are still here listening, understand this clearly. Your future is not finished yet. Your story is not over yet. Your strongest chapter may still be ahead of you. And maybe, this journey on Splendor YT is the beginning of that chapter. If you have made it this far, then something inside you has already changed. Maybe not dramatically, maybe not loudly, but quietly, deep inside your mind, something is beginning to wake up again. Because awareness changes people. Once a person truly sees their patterns clearly, they can never completely return to unconscious living again. You begin noticing things differently. You notice how certain environments drain your energy, how certain habits weaken your focus, how certain thoughts quietly destroy your confidence. And slowly, almost without realizing it, you begin protecting yourself differently. That is growth, not becoming perfect, becoming conscious. Most people think transformation looks dramatic, but real transformation is often invisible at first. A person begins waking up earlier, thinking more clearly, reacting more calmly, spending less time seeking validation, choosing peace over chaos. These moments seem small, but repeated small changes create entirely different lives. That is how rebuilding happens. Quietly, one decision at a time. The truth is, your future is being shaped right now by what you repeatedly tolerate. The habits you tolerate, the distractions you tolerate, the emotional chaos you tolerate. Everything compounds. And this is important because many people wait too long before protecting their peace. They keep saying, one day I'll focus on myself. One day I'll slow down. One day I'll heal. But eventually life forces the conversation. The body becomes exhausted. The mind becomes overwhelmed. The spirit becomes tired. And suddenly survival no longer feels sustainable. That moment can become dangerous or transformational, because pain creates two choices. A person either continues escaping themselves, or they finally begin rebuilding. And rebuilding starts with responsibility, not blame. Responsibility, the understanding that while you cannot control everything happening around you, you can begin controlling what happens inside you. Your attention, your habits, your reactions, your environment. That realization creates power. Many people spend years waiting for external circumstances to improve before they allow themselves peace. But peace is not only external, it is internal discipline, internal clarity, internal alignment. And that changes everything, because once inner peace begins growing, life stops feeling like constant survival. You breathe differently, think differently, move differently. There is less desperation, less emotional chaos, less need to prove yourself constantly. That is freedom. Real freedom is emotional freedom. Freedom from needing everyone's approval. Freedom from destructive habits. Freedom from constantly abandoning yourself internally. Freedom from emotional dependence on distraction. That freedom is powerful because it reconnects people to themselves again. And once a person reconnects to themselves, confidence changes naturally. Not fake confidence, quiet confidence, the kind that does not need constant attention, the kind that remains stable even during difficult seasons. Because it is built on self-trust instead of external validation. Self-trust matters deeply. Many people secretly do not trust themselves anymore. They have broken promises to themselves repeatedly, said they would change, then returned to old patterns again. Over time this damages identity. But trust can be rebuilt. Slowly, every time you keep a promise to yourself, self-trust grows slightly. Every time you choose discipline over impulse, identity strengthens slightly. Every time you protect your peace, self-respect increases slightly. This is how transformation actually happens. Not through one motivational moment. Through repeated evidence. The brain believes actions more than intentions. That means your daily behavior shapes your future self more than your dreams alone. Dreams matter, but disciplined action changes reality. And disciplined action becomes easier once your life regains meaning. This is important, because many people are not lazy. They are emotionally disconnected from purpose. Without purpose, energy fades. Focus fades. Hope fades. Human beings need meaning, a reason to wake up, a reason to grow, a reason to keep rebuilding during difficult seasons. That reason does not need to be huge. Sometimes purpose begins simply, becoming healthier, becoming peaceful, becoming emotionally stable, helping your family, building something meaningful slowly. Purpose grows through direction, and direction changes emotional energy. A person moving towards something meaningful feels different internally than someone drifting unconsciously. Drifting creates emptiness. Direction creates hope. This is why goals matter when connected to meaning, not ego. Meaning. The modern world constantly pushes people toward external success while neglecting internal health completely. But eventually every human being realizes something important. Achievement without peace feels empty. No amount of money replaces emotional stability. No amount of attention replaces self-respect. No amount of external validation replaces inner peace. That is why rebuilding your inner world matters so deeply. Because your relationship with yourself affects everything. Relationships, career, focus, discipline, confidence. Everything improves once inner clarity returns. And clarity comes from honesty. Honesty about your habits, your emotional patterns, your environment, your priorities. This honesty is uncomfortable sometimes. But uncomfortable truth creates freedom. Comfortable denial creates suffering. Many people already know what they need to change. Deep down they know, the distractions, the toxic routines, the emotional habits keeping them stuck. The problem is not always awareness. The problem is courage. Because changing your life requires courage. The courage to disappoint people sometimes. The courage to leave unhealthy patterns. The courage to become unfamiliar to your old self. Growth changes identity, and identity shifts can feel uncomfortable. But discomfort is often evidence that transformation is happening. Never forget that. You are not supposed to remain the same forever. Human beings evolve. That is the beauty of life. A person who once felt lost can become deeply grounded. A person who once lacked discipline can become focused. A person who once hated themselves can learn peace. Transformation is real, but it requires consistency, patience, awareness, and self-respect. Most importantly, it requires the willingness to begin again and again if necessary. Because rebuilding yourself is not a straight line. Some days feel powerful, some days feel heavy, some days old thoughts return. Old habits return. Do not panic. Growth is not destroyed by imperfect moments. What matters is continuing despite discomfort, continuing despite fear, continuing despite temporary setbacks. Because the people who transform their lives are not people who never fail. They are people who refuse to permanently surrender to failure. That difference changes destiny. And if you are listening right now, I want you to understand something clearly. The fact that you are still here means your mind has not given up on your future. Part of you still believes healing is possible, still believes peace is possible, still believes growth is possible. Protect that belief carefully, because belief shapes action, and action shapes identity. Your future life is being built right now through the decisions you repeat daily. Not someday, now. Every focused moment matters. Every disciplined decision matters. Every act of self-respect matters. One day you will look back and realize something incredible. The life you wanted began the moment you stopped waiting to become perfect and finally started rebuilding yourself consistently. And maybe, that moment is happening for you right now. So stay connected with Splendor YT and continue this journey with me. Because your strongest self is no longer in the future anymore. You are becoming that person now. There is one final truth that changes everything once a person fully understands it. Your life is not built in giant moments. It is built in ordinary moments repeated consistently. The small choices matter more than people realize. The way you speak to yourself when nobody hears you. The things you consume daily. The habits you repeat when you feel tired. The way you respond to stress. The way you protect your peace. These moments quietly shape identity. And identity quietly shapes destiny. This is why rebuilding yourself is not dramatic most of the time. It is deeply personal. Quiet mornings, intentional decisions, healing conversations, moments where you choose growth instead of old patterns. That is how people change. Slowly, honestly, repeatedly, and maybe that feels less exciting than the extreme self-improvement culture online. But it is real. Real growth does not always look powerful externally. Sometimes real growth looks like finally sleeping peacefully, finally forgiving yourself, finally saying no to chaos, finally walking away from environments destroying your spirit, finally choosing discipline instead of distraction. These moments matter deeply, because they rebuild self-respect. And self-respect changes everything. A person who respects themselves begins living differently. They stop tolerating habits weakening their future. They stop speaking to themselves cruelly. They stop abandoning their goals every time life becomes uncomfortable. This is what maturity looks like emotionally. Not becoming emotionless, becoming intentional. Intentional with attention, intentional with energy, intentional with time. Because eventually people realize something powerful. Life becomes whatever repeatedly receives your focus. Focus on fear constantly and life feels frightening. Focus on comparison constantly and life feels inadequate. Focus on growth consistently and life begins changing. That is why attention matters so much. Attention is more valuable than many people realize. The modern world fights aggressively for it. Every app, every platform, every notification, everything competes for your focus because focus shapes behavior. And behavior shapes identity. This means protecting your attention is protecting your future. Never forget that. A distracted life becomes fragmented. A focused life becomes intentional. And intentional living creates peace. Not because problems disappear completely. Because your mind stops living in chaos constantly. Many people spend years searching for happiness externally while ignoring the condition of their inner world. But inner chaos follows people everywhere. No achievement can permanently silence an undisciplined mind. No amount of validation can heal self-hatred. No external success can replace inner peace. That is why rebuilding yourself internally matters first. Because your relationship with yourself determines the quality of every other part of life. The way you think matters. The way you recover from failure matters. The way you handle loneliness matters. The way you speak to yourself matters. Everything matters. And once awareness grows, your entire relationship with life changes. You stop reacting automatically. You stop consuming mindlessly. You stop wasting emotional energy on things destroying your peace. Instead you become selective, protective of your spirit, not out of fear, out of wisdom, because peace becomes valuable once you have lived without it long enough. Many people do not realize how exhausted they are until they finally experience calm again. Then suddenly they understand, life was never supposed to feel this heavy constantly. The human nervous system was not designed for endless stress, comparison, and overstimulation. It needs recovery, stillness, meaning, connection. And this is important because modern culture often confuses busyness with importance. People stay constantly distracted and call it productivity. But a busy life is not always a meaningful life. Some people are exhausted not because they are growing, but because they are running from themselves. That difference matters. Growth creates fulfillment. Escape creates emptiness. And eventually every human being must decide which life they want. A life built around distraction, or a life built around intentionality. Intentional living changes everything. You begin waking up with purpose instead of confusion. You begin making decisions aligned with your future instead of temporary emotions. You begin protecting your peace instead of sacrificing it constantly. This creates emotional freedom, and emotional freedom is one of the greatest forms of success. Because what is success without peace? What is achievement without emotional stability? What is money without the ability to sleep peacefully at night? These questions matter deeply, especially now, because modern society constantly teaches people to chase more while neglecting themselves internally. More status, more attention, more productivity. Meanwhile, many people secretly feel emotionally empty. That emptiness is not solved through endless consumption. It is solved through reconnection. Reconnection to yourself, your values, your purpose, your peace. And this reconnection often begins in silence. A quiet moment where a person finally admits, "I want a different life." That sentence changes destinies, because once desire for real change becomes stronger than attachment to old patterns, transformation begins. Not instantly, but genuinely, and genuine transformation lasts longer than temporary motivation ever will. That is why this journey matters. Because rebuilding yourself is not just about habits. It is about reclaiming your life, your focus, your emotional health, your future, your peace. Everything changes once you stop living unconsciously. And if you are listening right now, understand this carefully. You are not behind in life. You are not permanently broken. You are not doomed to remain the same forever. Human beings can heal, can adapt, can rebuild, can become stronger emotionally. That possibility exists inside you too, even if your mind sometimes forgets it. Especially during difficult seasons. Never allow temporary pain to convince you your future is hopeless. Pain changes, seasons change, people change. You are allowed to change too. You are allowed to outgrow old habits, old fears, old versions of yourself. That is not failure, that is evolution, and evolution requires courage. The courage to begin again. The courage to keep rebuilding after setbacks. The courage to believe your future can still become meaningful. That courage already exists inside you. Otherwise you would not still be listening. Something inside you still wants growth, still wants peace, still wants life. Protect that part of yourself carefully. Feed it daily, because your future is shaped by what you repeatedly nourish. Nourish discipline and strength grows. Nourish peace and clarity grows. Nourish purpose and energy grows. Everything compounds over time. That means your small daily choices are creating your future right now. One day you will look back and realize the transformation did not begin in one dramatic moment. It began quietly, with awareness, with honesty, with the decision to stop abandoning yourself emotionally. And from that moment forward, everything started changing. So wherever you are in life right now, remember this. You still have time to rebuild, time to heal, time to grow, time to become the person you know you can be. Do not waste that opportunity. Protect your mind, protect your energy, protect your future, and most importantly, never stop rebuilding yourself. Thank you for being part of this journey with Splendor YT. Your next chapter begins now. Before this journey ends, there is something important you need to understand. Healing does not always look beautiful while it is happening. Sometimes healing looks confusing, messy, emotional. Some days you feel strong. Other days your mind feels heavy again for no obvious reason. That does not mean growth is failing. That is part of being human. Many people quit on themselves too early because they expect transformation to feel perfect. But real transformation often feels uncomfortable before it feels peaceful. Because growth requires releasing old versions of yourself. Old habits, old emotional patterns, old beliefs that once felt familiar. And letting go of familiarity can feel strange, even when familiarity was hurting you. This is why some people return to unhealthy environments repeatedly. Not because they enjoy suffering. Because the mind becomes attached to what feels familiar. Even familiar pain. But eventually every person reaches a point where familiar pain becomes unbearable. And that is when change finally begins. Not because fear disappears. Because staying the same becomes more painful than growing. That moment changes lives. Maybe you have already experienced it. Maybe you reached a point where you became emotionally exhausted from repeating the same cycles. The same distractions, the same doubts, the same self-destructive habits. And maybe part of you finally said, I want peace more than temporary comfort. That realization is powerful, because temporary comfort often destroys long-term happiness. Discipline feels uncomfortable temporarily, but regret hurts longer. Honest conversations feel uncomfortable temporarily, but emotional suppression hurts longer. Growth feels uncomfortable temporarily, but staying trapped hurts longer. This is why emotionally mature people stop asking, what feels easiest right now? And begin asking, what creates peace long term? That question changes decisions completely. It changes relationships, habits, focus, priorities, everything. Because long-term peace requires intentional living. And intentional living is rare today. The world encourages reaction, impulse, distraction, but rebuilding yourself requires consciousness. You begin living on purpose instead of emotionally drifting through life. That changes everything, especially mentally. A conscious person notices their emotional patterns earlier. They notice when stress is becoming overload, when distraction is becoming addiction, when comparison is damaging confidence. Awareness allows correction before complete burnout happens. This is why self-awareness is one of the greatest forms of intelligence. Not intellectual intelligence, life intelligence. The ability to understand your own mind, your own emotions, your own patterns. That understanding creates emotional freedom, because unconscious patterns control people. Conscious patterns can be changed. This means your future is not fixed. Your habits are not fixed. Your mindset is not fixed. Everything can evolve with awareness and repetition. That should inspire you deeply, because many people secretly believe they are trapped forever. Trapped in anxiety, trapped in distraction, trapped in emotional exhaustion. But the human brain changes constantly. The nervous system adapts constantly. That means healing is possible. Not overnight, but absolutely possible. This is why consistency matters more than intensity. Small actions repeated daily change identity. Reading instead of endless scrolling. Walking instead of isolating completely. Resting properly instead of overstimulating the mind every night. Protecting your focus instead of surrendering it constantly. These habits slowly rebuild the nervous system. And once the nervous system stabilizes, clarity returns naturally. That clarity changes life. You begin thinking differently, making decisions differently, responding to stress differently. Everything shifts once the mind feels less chaotic internally. This is why peace becomes addictive once people experience real peace for the first time. Not fake peace through distraction. Real peace. The kind where your mind finally feels quiet enough to breathe. The kind where you stop needing constant stimulation every second. The kind where you can sit alone without feeling emotionally restless. That peace is powerful because it reconnects people to themselves again. And self-connection changes everything. A person connected to themselves no longer needs to perform constantly. They stop chasing approval from everyone. Stop trying to prove their worth endlessly. Stop abandoning their own needs emotionally. Instead, they begin building a life aligned with their spirit. That alignment creates fulfillment, not perfection. Fulfillment. There is a difference. Perfection creates pressure. Fulfillment creates peace. The modern world sells perfection constantly. Perfect body, perfect success, perfect lifestyle. But perfection is an illusion. Human beings are imperfect by nature. Life is imperfect by nature. The goal is not perfection. The goal is wholeness. A life where your mind, habits, values, and actions align. That alignment creates emotional stability. And emotional stability becomes a superpower in chaotic environments. Because chaotic people make impulsive decisions. Emotionally stable people make intentional decisions. That difference shapes destiny. Everything in life improves when your internal world improves. Relationships improve because communication improves. Work improves because focus improves. Confidence improves because self-trust improves. Peace improves because emotional awareness improves. This is why inner work matters so deeply. Not because it looks impressive online. Because it changes how life feels internally. And ultimately that is what matters most. How your life feels when nobody else is watching. Because there are people who look successful externally while suffering privately. And there are people with simple lives who feel deeply peaceful internally. Never confuse appearance with fulfillment. Real fulfillment is emotional, spiritual, psychological. It comes from alignment, from meaning, from presence, from knowing you are becoming someone you genuinely respect. That feeling cannot be bought. It must be built, and you build it through daily choices. Every disciplined action matters. Every healthy boundary matters. Every moment of honesty matters. Nothing is wasted. Even difficult seasons are not wasted if they teach you wisdom. And wisdom changes people permanently. A wise person understands that pain is temporary. Emotions are temporary. Setbacks are temporary. But identity can continue evolving forever. That understanding creates hope. And hope matters deeply. Hopeless people stop rebuilding. Hopeful people continue trying. Even slowly, even imperfectly, they continue. And continuing matters more than perfection ever will. So if you are listening right now, I want you to remember something clearly. You have survived every difficult season that once felt impossible. Every painful night, every moment of doubt, every setback. You survived all of it. That means there is more strength inside you than you realize. Do not underestimate yourself anymore. Do not keep speaking to yourself like someone already defeated. You are still here, still growing, still rebuilding, still becoming. That means your story is still unfolding. And your future can still become beautiful. Not because life will become perfect. Because you are becoming stronger, calmer, wiser, more intentional. And one day you will look back at this version of yourself and realize something incredible. The person who almost gave up became the person who finally transformed their life. Thank you for staying on this journey with Splendor YT. And remember this always, your rebuild is not ending here. It is only beginning. Years from now, you will probably forget many of the exact words from this audiobook. But if this journey truly reached your heart, there are a few feelings you will never forget. The feeling of finally slowing down long enough to hear yourself again. The feeling of realizing you were never completely broken. The feeling of understanding that your exhaustion had a reason. And maybe most importantly, the feeling that your life could still change. Because hope changes people, not weak hope, not fantasy, real hope, the kind built through awareness, through discipline, through emotional honesty, through rebuilding yourself one day at a time. That type of hope creates transformation because it changes the way people move through life. A hopeless person stops trying. A hopeful person keeps rebuilding. Even after setbacks, even after difficult seasons, even after failure. That persistence matters more than perfection ever will. The modern world constantly pressures people to become extraordinary instantly. But most meaningful growth happens slowly, quietly, privately. A person heals privately before the world notices externally. A person rebuilds discipline privately before success appears publicly. A person learns emotional control privately before becoming calm during chaos publicly. Everything begins internally first. This is why your private habits matter more than appearances. Because eventually private behavior becomes public reality. The way you think when nobody is watching matters. The way you speak to yourself matters. The habits you repeat during difficult moments matter. Everything compounds. That means every small act of self-respect matters more than you realize. Going to sleep on time matters. Protecting your focus matters. Saying no to chaos matters. Resting properly matters. Being honest with yourself matters. None of these actions seem dramatic. But dramatic change is usually built from ordinary actions repeated consistently. This should encourage you deeply. Because it means transformation is accessible. Not only for rich people. Not only for talented people. Not only for people with perfect lives. Anyone willing to rebuild intentionally can change their future. Anyone. That includes you. No matter how lost you once felt. No matter how distracted your mind became. No matter how many times you failed before. Human beings are adaptable. The brain adapts. Habits adapt. Identity adapts. Which means your future can adapt too. But adaptation requires responsibility. Eventually every person must stop waiting for rescue and start becoming responsible for their own healing. That does not mean blaming yourself for every painful thing that happened. Life can be unfair. Pain can be unexpected. People can hurt you. But healing still becomes your responsibility eventually. And while that sounds heavy, it is also empowering. Because responsibility returns power. The moment you realize your habits influence your future, you gain power. The moment you realize your environment influences your peace, you gain power. The moment you realize your attention shapes your identity, you gain power. Awareness creates power, and power creates change. This is why conscious living matters so much. Most people live reactively, reacting to notifications, reacting to stress, reacting to emotions, reacting to other people's opinions. But conscious people slow down enough to choose their responses intentionally. That changes emotional reality completely. Because peace is often hidden inside intentional living. Not rushing constantly, not consuming endlessly, not chasing validation obsessively. Intentional living creates space for clarity. And clarity changes decisions. Many people are only a few healthier decisions away from a completely different life. A healthier routine, a healthier environment, a healthier relationship with technology, a healthier internal dialogue. These things matter deeply because emotional health affects every area of life. A peaceful mind works differently, loves differently, thinks differently. A peaceful mind creates differently, builds differently, lives differently. That is why inner peace is not weakness. It is strength, especially in a world designed to overload the nervous system constantly. Calm people become powerful because calm people think clearly. Clear thinking creates wise decisions. Wise decisions create better lives. And better lives create deeper fulfillment. Not temporary excitement, fulfillment, the kind that remains even during difficult seasons. Because real fulfillment is rooted deeper than emotion. It comes from alignment, living in a way that respects your future, that respects your values, that respects your peace. And the beautiful thing is this: you do not need to rebuild your entire life overnight. You simply need to stop abandoning yourself daily. That sentence alone can change everything. Stop abandoning your sleep, your focus, your health, your dreams, your peace. Your future self is created through what you repeatedly protect or repeatedly neglect. Choose carefully, because years pass quickly. One day becomes 1 month. 1 month becomes 1 year. And eventually people either become stronger through intentional living, or weaker through unconscious living. The difference is hidden inside daily habits. That is why awareness matters more than motivation. Motivation fades. Awareness changes identity. Once you truly understand what certain habits are doing to your peace, your relationship with them changes naturally. You stop glorifying self-destruction. You stop romanticizing burnout. You stop confusing chaos with success. Instead, you begin valuing clarity, rest, focus, meaning, presence. And presence changes life deeply. Because presence reconnects people to reality. Not imagined futures, not endless comparison. Reality, this moment, this breath, this life. Many people spend so much time worrying about tomorrow that they never fully experience today. But life is happening now, not later, right now. That is why mindful living matters. Not because it sounds spiritual, because it restores connection. Connection to your body, your thoughts, your emotions, your environment, your life. And life feels different once connection returns. Food tastes different. Conversations feel different. Nature feels different. Even silence feels different. Because the mind is finally present enough to experience life instead of constantly escaping it. That is real healing, not becoming someone else. Returning to yourself, the version of you buried underneath distraction, fear, comparison, and exhaustion. That person still exists. And if you are listening to this right now, maybe you are already reconnecting with them. Maybe this journey reminded you of who you can still become. Not perfect, human, focused, peaceful, strong, emotionally free. That future is possible, and it begins through small choices repeated daily. Never underestimate small choices. Small habits build identity. Small decisions build destiny. Everything compounds over time. One day you will look back and realize your life changed gradually. Through awareness, through discipline, through emotional honesty, through refusing to give up on yourself completely. That realization will feel powerful, because you will finally understand something most people spend years searching for. Peace was never hidden in becoming someone else. Peace was hidden in becoming fully connected to yourself again. Thank you for spending this time with Splendor YT. Take care of your mind, protect your peace, and never stop rebuilding the life you truly deserve. And now, before this journey truly comes to an end, I want you to do something very simple. Pause for a moment, take one slow breath, and think about the person you were before you started listening to this audiobook. Not your appearance, not your job, not your social media image. Your mind, your emotional state, your energy, because maybe, without realizing it completely, something inside you has already shifted. Maybe your thoughts feel clearer. Maybe your awareness feels stronger. Maybe for the first time in a long time, you stop running from yourself long enough to truly listen. That matters more than you realize. In a world addicted to noise, awareness becomes revolutionary. Most people never pause long enough to examine their life honestly. They distract themselves endlessly, scroll endlessly, consume endlessly, and eventually they lose connection with themselves completely. But you stayed, you listened, you reflected, and reflection changes people. Because once awareness enters the mind, unconscious patterns begin weakening. You begin noticing your habits differently, your emotional reactions differently, your distractions differently. That is where rebuilding truly begins. Not in motivation, in consciousness. A conscious person lives differently. They stop wasting energy proving themselves constantly. They stop feeding every distraction. They stop sacrificing their peace for temporary validation. Instead, they begin asking deeper questions. What kind of life actually feels meaningful? What habits create peace inside me? What future am I building through my daily choices? Those questions create transformation, because the quality of your life is shaped by the quality of your awareness. And awareness creates intentional living. Intentional living changes everything. You become more protective of your attention, more careful with your energy, more disciplined with your habits. Not because someone forced you, because you finally understand the value of your mind. That understanding changes priorities. Many people spend years chasing success while destroying their nervous system, destroying sleep, destroying peace, destroying emotional health. Then one day they finally realize, no achievement is worth losing myself. That realization is wisdom, because wisdom is not only knowledge. Wisdom is understanding what truly matters. And what truly matters is not endless external approval, not endless comparison, not endless productivity. What truly matters is inner stability, meaningful connection, peace of mind, self-respect, presence. These things create fulfillment, not temporary excitement. Fulfillment, the kind that allows a person to sleep peacefully at night, the kind that remains steady even during difficult seasons. That type of fulfillment is built intentionally. And the beautiful thing is this: you are capable of building it. No matter how distracted life once became, no matter how emotionally exhausted you once felt, no matter how many times you doubted yourself before, human beings are remarkably capable of rebuilding. Focus can return, peace can return, confidence can return, purpose can return, but only when a person decides they are no longer willing to live unconsciously. That decision changes destiny, and maybe that decision is happening inside you right now. Maybe this is the moment you stop settling for emotional survival. Maybe this is the moment you finally choose intentional living. Because intentional living creates intentional identity, and identity shapes future reality. The person you become tomorrow is being shaped by what you repeatedly do today. Every habit matters, every thought matters, every environment matters, everything influences the nervous system. This is why protecting your peace matters deeply. Not because life should always feel easy, but because emotional stability creates resilience during difficult moments. A stable mind handles stress differently, failure differently, pain differently, and life will always include uncertainty. That is part of being human. But uncertainty becomes less frightening once inner strength grows. Because confidence is not believing life will never become difficult. Confidence is trusting yourself to survive difficulty without losing yourself completely. That kind of confidence changes everything. It creates calm, patience, perspective. And perspective matters because emotions can distort reality during painful seasons. A difficult moment can feel permanent while you're inside it. But no season lasts forever. Pain changes. People change. Life changes. You have already survived moments you once thought would break you completely. Never forget that. There is more resilience inside you than you realize. More adaptability, more strength, more potential for growth. The problem is that many people spend years speaking to themselves like someone already defeated. They underestimate themselves constantly, doubt themselves constantly, compare themselves constantly, and eventually they begin believing they are incapable of change. But that belief is false. Human beings change every day. The brain changes every day. Habits change every day. Identity changes every day, which means your future is never fully fixed. And that should fill you with hope. Because no matter where you are emotionally right now, growth is still possible. A calmer life is possible. A focused mind is possible. A meaningful future is possible. But it requires participation. Awareness alone is not enough. You must protect your peace intentionally. Protect your habits intentionally. Protect your future intentionally. Because modern life will not do it for you. The world constantly pulls attention outward. Toward noise. Toward fear. Toward distraction. That is why conscious people become intentional about what enters their mind. They understand something deeply. Attention shapes identity, and identity shapes destiny. This means the life you create depends heavily on what repeatedly receives your focus. Feed your mind chaos constantly and life feels chaotic. Feed your mind peace consistently and life begins calming internally. Everything compounds. This is why small daily actions matter more than dramatic emotional moments. A peaceful routine matters. Focused work matters. Meaningful rest matters. Healthy boundaries matter. Everything shapes the nervous system gradually. And eventually gradual change becomes total transformation. One day you wake up and realize something incredible. You no longer react like the old version of yourself. You no longer seek validation the same way. You no longer abandon your peace so easily. That realization feels powerful, because it means your rebuild became real, not temporary motivation. Real identity change. And identity change creates life change. That is why this journey matters. Because rebuilding yourself is not only about becoming more successful, it is about becoming more alive, more present, more emotionally free, more connected to yourself and to life itself. And if you remember nothing else from this audiobook, remember this one truth. You do not need to become perfect to deserve peace. You simply need to stop fighting against your own growth. Your future self is already waiting inside your daily choices, inside your discipline, inside your awareness, inside your willingness to begin again after difficult seasons. That future is closer than you think. So continue protecting your peace. Continue rebuilding your mind. Continue choosing growth over unconscious living. And most importantly, never underestimate how much your life can change once you finally decide to stop abandoning yourself. Thank you for listening to Splendor YT. Your next chapter starts now. Maybe years from now, you will be sitting somewhere peaceful, far away from the version of yourself that once felt overwhelmed all the time. And suddenly you will remember this season of your life. The confusion, the exhaustion, the overthinking, the nights where your mind felt too heavy, the moments where you almost gave up on yourself emotionally. And in that future moment, you will realize something beautiful. You survived. Not perfectly, not gracefully every day, but honestly. You kept rebuilding even when your mind felt tired, even when progress felt slow, even when nobody around you fully understood what you were carrying internally. That quiet resilience matters more than you realize. Because strength is not always loud. Sometimes strength is simply refusing to surrender to hopelessness completely. And if you are listening right now, then part of you has already done that. Part of you refused to give up. That is why you kept searching, kept listening, kept trying to understand yourself better. Never underestimate the importance of that. Many people spend years running from themselves. But healing begins the moment a person becomes willing to face themselves honestly. Not with shame, with awareness. Awareness changes lives. Because awareness interrupts unconscious patterns. You begin noticing when your habits are hurting you, when your environment is draining you, when your thoughts are destroying your peace. And once you see those patterns clearly, transformation becomes possible. That is why this journey was never really about motivation. Motivation fades. This journey was about awakening. Awakening your attention. Awakening your discipline. Awakening your emotional awareness. awakening the version of you buried underneath distraction and exhaustion. That version still exists, and maybe now, you can finally feel them again. The calmer version, the focused version, the emotionally grounded version, not perfect, real, that is the goal, not perfection, wholeness, a life where your thoughts, habits, values, and actions begin aligning again. That alignment creates peace, because internal conflict creates suffering. Many people secretly suffer because their lifestyle constantly fights against their spirit. Their habits damage their focus, their environment damages their energy, their thoughts damage their confidence, and eventually exhaustion appears, not because they are weak, because humans are not designed to live disconnected from themselves forever. Eventually the mind demands attention. Eventually the soul demands rest. Eventually the nervous system demands recovery. And ignoring those signals only creates deeper suffering later. That is why slowing down matters. Not quitting life. Slowing down enough to reconnect with it. Slowing down enough to hear your own thoughts again. To feel your own emotions again. To ask yourself honestly, what kind of life do I truly want? That question matters deeply, because many people spend years chasing lives they never consciously chose. Lives built around pressure, expectation, comparison, performance. But eventually every human being reaches a point where external approval no longer feels enough. And that is often where true growth begins. Not when the world changes. When your priorities change. You stop worshipping busyness. Stop glorifying burnout. Stop seeking validation from everyone around you. And instead you begin valuing peace, clarity, meaning, presence. That shift changes everything, because what you value determines how you live. If you value distraction, your life becomes fragmented. If you value peace, your habits begin changing naturally. If you value growth, discipline becomes easier. Everything follows identity. That is why identity matters so much. You do not rise permanently to the level of motivation. You return repeatedly to the level of identity. A person who identifies as emotionally strong behaves differently, thinks differently, responds differently. That identity is built through repeated actions. Every promise you keep to yourself matters. Every healthy boundary matters. Every focused moment matters. Everything sends messages to the brain about who you are becoming. That means your daily behavior is shaping your future self constantly. This should inspire you, because it means change is happening even when growth feels invisible. Every disciplined choice matters. Every act of self-respect matters. Nothing is wasted, especially not difficult seasons. Pain teaches awareness. Failure teaches resilience. Loneliness teaches self-reflection. Hardship teaches perspective. The strongest people are rarely people who avoided struggle completely. They are people who learned how to grow through struggle without losing themselves completely. That ability becomes wisdom, and wisdom creates peace. Not shallow peace, deep peace. The kind where you stop constantly fighting yourself internally. The kind where your mind no longer needs endless distraction every second. The kind where silence becomes healing instead of frightening. That peace changes life deeply. Because once inner peace begins growing, everything external feels different too. Conversations feel deeper, food tastes better, nature feels calmer, simple moments feel meaningful again. That is what presence does. Presence reconnects people to life. Many people are physically alive while emotionally absent. Their attention is always somewhere else. Thinking about tomorrow, regretting yesterday, comparing themselves online. Meanwhile, life is happening now. This breath, this moment, this ordinary day that may someday become a memory. That realization creates gratitude, and gratitude changes emotional energy. Grateful people suffer less psychologically because attention shifts away from constant deficiency. Instead of asking, "What is missing?" the mind begins asking, "What is meaningful right now?" That shift creates peace, and peace matters more than most people realize. Because a peaceful mind creates better decisions, better relationships, better habits, better futures. Everything improves once the inner world improves. This is why rebuilding yourself is one of the most important journeys a person can take. Because no external success can permanently replace inner stability. not money, not attention, not achievement. Only self-connection creates lasting fulfillment. And self-connection is built through honesty, awareness, presence, discipline, and the willingness to continue growing even after difficult seasons. So if you are listening right now, remember this carefully. Your life is not over because you struggled. Your future is not ruined because you felt lost. Your mind is not permanently broken because you became exhausted. Human beings can heal, can evolve, can rebuild themselves in extraordinary ways. But it begins with one decision. The decision to stop abandoning yourself. And if you made that decision during this journey, then your transformation has already begun. Thank you for walking this path with splendor. YT. Take care of your mind. Protect your peace, and never forget this truth. The person you are becoming is worth fighting for. And maybe, this is exactly where your real life begins. Not the life built around fear. Not the life built around distraction. Not the version of you that constantly doubted your worth. The real life. The one waiting underneath all the noise. Because somewhere along the way, many people forgot something important. Life is not meant to be rushed endlessly. It is not meant to feel like permanent survival. Human beings were not designed to spend every day overwhelmed, emotionally exhausted, and disconnected from themselves. Yet millions of people now live exactly like that. Wake up tired, scroll immediately, consume stress, rush through the day, escape through distraction at night, repeat, and slowly the soul becomes quieter, dreams become quieter, hope becomes quieter, until one day a person realizes they no longer feel fully alive. That realization hurts, but sometimes pain is necessary, because pain interrupts unconscious living. Pain forces awareness, and awareness creates transformation. That is why difficult seasons can become blessings in disguise. Not because suffering itself is beautiful, but because suffering often reveals what truly matters. During painful seasons, people begin questioning everything. What habits are destroying my peace? What relationships drain my energy? What kind of future am I creating through my daily actions? These questions change people, because clarity changes behavior. Once a person clearly sees the cost of certain habits, continuing them becomes harder emotionally. This is why awareness is powerful. Awareness weakens unconscious patterns. You begin noticing how certain environments affect your nervous system, how certain people affect your mindset, how certain routines affect your emotional stability, and gradually your standards rise. Not from ego, from self-respect. Self-respect changes lives quietly. A person with self-respect protects their sleep, protects their attention, protects their peace, not perfectly, intentionally. That intention matters deeply because modern culture constantly encourages unconscious living. Everything competes for attention. Everything pulls people outward, toward stimulation, toward urgency, toward emotional reaction. But rebuilding yourself requires moving inward sometimes. Toward reflection, toward stillness, toward truth. At first many people fear this process, because silence reveals what distraction hides. But eventually silence becomes healing. You begin understanding yourself differently. Your fears, your emotional patterns, your strengths, your wounds. That understanding creates compassion. And compassion matters because many people secretly hate themselves for struggling. They believe they should already have everything figured out, already be successful enough, already be healed enough. But healing is not a competition. Growth is not a race. Every human being moves through life differently. Different pain, different experiences, different timing. This is why comparison destroys peace. It disconnects people from their own path. And once a person becomes disconnected from their own path, confusion grows. Because they stop listening to themselves. Instead they chase external expectations constantly. That creates exhaustion. Not everyone is meant to live the same life. Not everyone defines success the same way. For some people success means peace of mind. For others it means creative freedom. For others it means family, health, purpose, contribution. Meaning matters differently to different people. And mature people stop allowing the world to define fulfillment for them completely. They become intentional about what truly matters to their spirit. That intentionality creates emotional freedom. Because freedom is not only financial. Freedom is psychological. The ability to wake up without constantly betraying yourself internally. The ability to live according to your values instead of endless pressure. The ability to protect your peace without guilt. That type of freedom changes life deeply. And it begins through small daily decisions. Every healthy habit matters. Every focused moment matters. Every act of discipline matters. Nothing is wasted, especially not consistency. Consistency creates identity, and identity shapes destiny. That means your future is not created through one perfect day. It is created through repeated choices over time. One healthier thought, one healthier boundary, one healthier routine. These actions compound quietly, and eventually quiet consistency becomes total transformation. One day you wake up and realize something incredible. Your mind feels calmer, your reactions feel slower, your confidence feels real, your life feels more aligned. Not perfect, aligned. That alignment creates fulfillment because your inner world and outer life begin moving in the same direction. No more constant internal conflict. No more pretending endlessly. No more surviving emotionally while appearing fine externally. Instead there is honesty, presence, peace. That peace becomes priceless once you have lived without it long enough. Because people often spend years chasing excitement while secretly needing stability. And stability creates strength. A stable nervous system thinks clearly, loves deeply, creates consistently, handles difficulty wisely. Everything improves once emotional chaos decreases. This is why protecting your mental health matters so deeply. Not because you are weak. Because your mind shapes every experience you have in life. A peaceful mind experiences life differently than an overwhelmed mind. Even ordinary moments feel richer. Conversations feel more meaningful. Nature feels more beautiful. Rest feels deeper. Life feels real again. That is what healing does. It reconnects people to life itself. Not through perfection, through presence. And presence changes everything. Most anxiety exists in imagined futures. Most regret exists in the past. But peace exists in the present moment. Right here, right now, this breath, this moment, this ordinary second that many people miss because their attention is always somewhere else. That is why mindfulness matters. Not because it sounds spiritual. Because awareness restores life. It returns people to reality. And reality often feels calmer than the chaos created by the mind. Many people suffer more from imagined scenarios than actual situations. Overthinking creates emotional exhaustion. Fear creates imagined futures. Comparison creates imagined inadequacy. And eventually the nervous system becomes overwhelmed. This is why slowing down matters. A slower mind sees life more clearly, makes wiser decisions, feels deeper gratitude, and gratitude transforms emotional energy. A grateful mind suffers differently, not because pain disappears completely, because perspective changes. Perspective is powerful. A person can look at life through deficiency or through appreciation, through fear or through growth, through hopelessness or through possibility. Everything changes according to perspective. That is why rebuilding yourself internally changes external reality too. Your mindset affects behavior. Behavior affects habits. Habits affect destiny. Everything connects. And if you are listening to this right now, I want you to understand something deeply. You are allowed to become someone new. You are allowed to outgrow old patterns, old environments, old emotional versions of yourself. That is not betrayal. That is growth. Growth requires evolution, and evolution requires courage. The courage to continue rebuilding even when progress feels slow. The courage to choose peace in a world addicted to chaos. The courage to believe your future can still become beautiful. Because it can, no matter how difficult your past felt. No matter how lost you once became. Your story is still being written. And maybe, the most meaningful chapter has not even begun yet. Thank you for walking through this journey with Splendor YT. Protect your peace. Protect your mind. Protect the future you are building. And never forget this. You still have time to become the person your soul has been searching for. Sometimes the most important transformation in a person's life happens so quietly that nobody notices it at first. No dramatic announcement, no sudden overnight success, just a slow change in the way they think, the way they breathe, the way they respond to life. And eventually everything becomes different. That is how real healing often works. Quietly, internally, until one day the person who once felt emotionally lost realizes they are no longer carrying the same chaos inside their mind. The overthinking becomes quieter, the need for validation becomes weaker, the emotional reactions become calmer, and for the first time in a long time, peace begins feeling natural again. That moment is powerful, because many people secretly believe they are destined to remain exhausted forever. Forever anxious, forever distracted, forever emotionally overwhelmed. But the human mind is adaptable, far more adaptable than most people realize. The same brain that learned unhealthy patterns can learn healthier ones. The same nervous system that adapted to stress can adapt to calm. The same person who once felt broken can become deeply grounded again. Never forget that. Human beings can rebuild themselves. But rebuilding requires awareness, and awareness requires honesty. Honesty about your habits, your environment, your emotional patterns, the things slowly damaging your peace. That honesty is uncomfortable sometimes. But uncomfortable truth creates transformation. Comfortable denial creates stagnation. This is why emotionally mature people stop running from difficult truths. They face them, not to punish themselves, to free themselves. Because freedom begins when denial ends. Many people already know what is hurting them. Deep down they know. The distractions, the unhealthy routines, the constant comparison, the relationships draining emotional energy, the habits destroying focus. The problem is rarely total ignorance. The problem is avoidance, because change feels uncomfortable at first. Growth always challenges familiarity, and familiarity can become addictive. Even unhealthy familiarity. This is why some people remain trapped in painful cycles for years. Not because they enjoy suffering, because suffering became familiar, but eventually familiarity stops feeling safe. Eventually the soul becomes exhausted from repeating the same emotional patterns. That exhaustion often becomes the beginning of transformation. Because pain forces awareness. Awareness forces choice. And choice creates change. This is why difficult seasons should never automatically be viewed as failure. Sometimes difficult seasons are invitations. Invitations to slow down, to reflect, to rebuild, to become more intentional. That process changes identity, and identity changes destiny. Most people focus only on changing behavior, but lasting change requires identity change too. A person trying to become disciplined while still identifying as lazy will struggle constantly. A person trying to build confidence while secretly believing they are worthless will feel internal conflict constantly. This is why your self-image matters so much. The way you see yourself shapes behavior deeply. People naturally act according to who they believe they are. That means rebuilding your life also requires rebuilding the story you tell yourself internally. Not fake positivity, truthful growth. There is a difference. You do not need to pretend you never struggled. You simply need to stop treating struggle as permanent identity. Pain is an experience, not a definition. Failure is an event, not a life sentence. Anxiety is a condition, not your identity. Never confuse temporary emotional states with permanent truth. Human beings evolve constantly. That means your future is not locked to your past forever. This should fill you with hope. Because many people silently believe they missed their chance. That they are too late, too damaged, too distracted, too exhausted. But transformation does not belong only to perfect people. Transformation belongs to people willing to rebuild consistently. That is all, not perfection, consistency. And consistency is less glamorous than social media makes it seem. Often consistency looks ordinary, waking up and trying again, protecting your peace again, returning to discipline again, choosing awareness again. Those moments matter deeply, because repeated actions become personality. Repeated thoughts become mindset. Repeated habits become destiny. Everything compounds over time. This means small daily decisions shape your future more than dramatic emotional moments. That is powerful, because it means change becomes accessible. Anyone can start protecting their attention. Anyone can begin speaking to themselves differently. Anyone can begin reducing chaos slowly. These actions seem small, but internally they rebuild the nervous system. And once the nervous system stabilizes, life begins feeling different. Clearer, slower, more meaningful. That is what emotional healing creates. Not perfection, connection. Connection to yourself, to your values, to the present moment. Many people are physically alive while mentally absent. Always distracted, always worried, always mentally somewhere else. Meanwhile, life is happening now. This moment, this breath, this ordinary day. That realization changes perspective, because eventually people understand something deeply. Life is not waiting somewhere in the future. Life is happening now. That is why presence matters. Presence reconnects people to reality, and reality often feels calmer than the anxious stories created inside the mind. Overthinking steals peace. Comparison steals peace. Constant distraction steals peace. But awareness restores peace. That is why mindful living changes emotional health so deeply. You begin experiencing life instead of escaping it constantly. Food tastes richer. Conversations feel deeper. Nature feels calming again. Even silence feels beautiful instead of uncomfortable. This is what happens when the nervous system finally begins healing. The mind slows down enough to reconnect with life itself. And that reconnection changes everything. A connected person makes different decisions, builds different habits, chooses different environments, not because someone forced them, because their priorities changed internally. And priorities shape destiny. What you repeatedly prioritize eventually becomes your life. Prioritize chaos and life feels chaotic. Prioritize peace and life becomes calmer. Prioritize growth and identity evolves. Everything follows repeated focus. That is why attention matters so much. Your attention is shaping your future every single day. Protect it carefully. Not everything deserves access to your mind. Not every opinion deserves emotional energy. Not every distraction deserves your focus. Emotionally strong people understand this. They become selective, not cold, intentional. Intentional living creates emotional freedom. And emotional freedom changes life deeply. Because once you stop needing constant external validation, your peace becomes more stable. Once you stop comparing yourself endlessly, your confidence grows naturally. Once you stop abandoning your own needs emotionally, self-respect returns. That self-respect creates inner strength. And inner strength creates resilience during difficult seasons. This is important because life will never become perfectly predictable. There will still be difficult days, unexpected pain, moments of uncertainty, but emotionally grounded people handle difficulty differently. They bend without completely breaking. They recover faster. They continue rebuilding. That resilience becomes power. And maybe that is exactly what is happening inside you now. Maybe this journey reminded you how much strength still exists inside your mind. How much growth is still possible. How much peace is still available. If so, hold on to that feeling carefully. Because your future life will be shaped by what you repeatedly nourish starting now. Nourish discipline. Nourish awareness. Nourish peace. Nourish self-respect. Everything compounds. One day you will look back and realize something incredible. The life you wanted did not begin through one giant breakthrough. It began quietly, the moment you stopped abandoning yourself and finally chose to rebuild intentionally. And that decision changed everything. At the end of everything, people rarely regret not scrolling more. They rarely regret not spending more hours comparing themselves to strangers online. They rarely regret not staying busier. What people truly regret is different. They regret the peace they ignored, the dreams they abandoned, the years they spent doubting themselves, the moments they were physically present but emotionally absent. That is why awareness matters so much. Because awareness wakes people up before life passes too quickly. And life moves faster than most people realize. One day you are telling yourself, "I'll start later." Then suddenly years have passed. The habits became identity. The distractions became lifestyle. The exhaustion became normal. That is dangerous, not because life is hopeless, because unconscious living slowly steals potential. And potential matters, not in the sense of becoming famous or extraordinary by society's standards, but in the sense of becoming fully alive, fully present, fully connected to yourself and your life. Many people never experience that fully because they remain trapped inside survival mode mentally. Always rushing, always distracted, always emotionally overloaded, but human beings were not designed to live in constant psychological noise. The nervous system needs calm. The spirit needs meaning. The mind needs rest. This is why intentional living changes emotional health so deeply. Intentional living slows the chaos. It creates space to think clearly, to feel clearly, to choose consciously. That changes everything. A conscious person begins noticing how much energy gets wasted daily. Wasted through overthinking, through comparison, through emotional reactions, through worrying about things beyond control. And gradually they begin simplifying life internally. Less noise, less unnecessary conflict, less emotional clutter. This creates clarity, and clarity creates peace. Many people believe peace comes after success, but often peace comes before success. A peaceful mind makes wiser decisions, builds healthier habits, creates healthier relationships. Everything improves once the inner world stabilizes. That is why inner work matters more than appearances. Because appearances can hide suffering, but inner peace cannot be faked. You can feel it when someone genuinely rebuilt themselves emotionally. There is calmness in their energy, patience in the way they speak, stability in the way they handle life. Not because life became easy, because they became stronger internally. This is why emotional strength matters more than temporary motivation. Motivation disappears during difficult seasons. Emotional strength keeps people moving anyway. And emotional strength is built through repeated choices. Choosing awareness instead of avoidance. Choosing growth instead of excuses. Choosing discipline instead of self-destruction. Those choices compound quietly, until eventually the person who once felt lost realizes they no longer think like the old version of themselves. That moment feels powerful, because identity changed, not temporarily, genuinely. This is what rebuilding yourself truly means. Not becoming somebody fake, not performing confidence, not pretending pain never existed. Real rebuilding means becoming emotionally honest enough to grow beyond old patterns. And growth requires letting go. Letting go of certain habits, certain environments, certain identities. That process can feel uncomfortable, because people become emotionally attached to familiar versions of themselves, even unhealthy ones. But growth requires evolution. You cannot become emotionally free while holding tightly to everything that once kept you trapped. This is why courage matters. Not loud courage, quiet courage. The courage to begin again after failure. The courage to choose peace instead of chaos. The courage to believe your future can still become meaningful. That courage changes lives. Because hopelessness creates paralysis. Hope creates movement. And movement creates transformation. That is why protecting hope matters deeply. Especially during difficult seasons. Many people lose themselves because they stop believing change is possible. They start seeing their pain as permanent, their anxiety as permanent, their exhaustion as permanent. But no emotional season lasts forever. Human beings are constantly changing. Healing changes people. Awareness changes people. Discipline changes people. Everything evolves over time. This means your future self can become very different from your current self. That should inspire you, because no matter how difficult life once felt, transformation remains possible. You can rebuild focus, rebuild confidence, rebuild peace, rebuild self-trust. But rebuilding requires participation. You must become intentional about your life. Intentional about your habits. Intentional about your attention. Intentional about what enters your mind daily. Because everything influences the nervous system. What you consume matters. What you repeat matters. Who surrounds you matters. All of it shapes identity slowly. That is why emotionally intelligent people become selective. Selective with energy. Selective with focus. Selective with environments. not because they became selfish, because they finally understood the cost of constant emotional chaos. Peace becomes valuable once you suffer long enough without it. And once peace becomes valuable, priorities change naturally. You stop glorifying burnout, stop romanticizing emotional exhaustion, stop confusing busyness with purpose. Instead, you begin valuing stillness, presence, meaning, connection. That shift changes life deeply, because fulfillment is not hidden inside endless stimulation. It is hidden inside alignment. Alignment between your values and your actions, your future and your habits, your mind and your lifestyle. That alignment creates emotional stability, and emotional stability creates resilience. This matters because difficult seasons will still happen. Life will still challenge you. Unexpected pain will still appear. But emotionally grounded people experience hardship differently. They recover faster, adapt faster, continue rebuilding faster, not because they avoid pain completely, because they trust themselves more deeply. Self-trust changes everything. A person who trusts themselves no longer collapses every time life becomes uncertain. They know they can survive difficult seasons without abandoning themselves completely. That creates confidence, real confidence, not arrogance, not performance, self-trust. And self-trust is built through consistency. Every promise you keep to yourself matters. Every disciplined action matters. Every healthy boundary matters. Identity grows through repeated evidence, not fantasy. This means your daily behavior is shaping your future self constantly. Even now, this moment, that should remind you how powerful small decisions truly are. One healthier habit matters. One focused hour matters. One honest conversation matters. Everything compounds. And one day those small actions become a completely different life. A calmer life. A clearer life. A more meaningful life. That future is possible for you too. Not because life suddenly becomes perfect. Because you become more intentional, more aware, more emotionally grounded. And if you are listening right now, maybe that transformation has already started. Maybe you are no longer the same person who first pressed play on this audiobook. Maybe your mind already feels different. More awake, more honest, more ready to rebuild. If that is true, then protect this version of yourself carefully. Because your future depends on what you repeatedly nurture from this moment forward. Nurture peace, nurture discipline, nurture self-respect, nurture awareness. Everything else will begin changing naturally. Thank you for spending this journey with Splendor YT. And remember this always. Your life changes the moment you stop waiting to be saved and finally begin saving yourself. Thank you for listening. Thank you for staying. Thank you for choosing growth. This is Splendor YT. And this is not the end of your journey. It is the beginning of your new life.